Chapter 1532. But now, Zhou Tian had used the fire of Chu Bai Luo again. This made them nervous again. The reason for that was because they knew that no one would be able to resist the flames. A green flame quickly floated out like a will-o'-the wisp and instantly enveloped Lin Xian. The green light shone brightly. With just a little bit of strength, it could burn an expert to ashes. Lin Xian was still calm. Facing the terrifying fire of Chu Bai Luo, he only turned his head slightly. Then, a ball of black light appeared in his eyes. A ball of black flame appeared out of nowhere and blasted forward like a flood. It was very strange. What? He wants to resist? What an idiot. Doesn't he know the power of the fire of Chu Bai Luo? The disciples shook their heads and sneered. The surrounding martial artists also sighed. They knew that any method would be useless in front of the fire of Chu Bai Luo. Chi! In the next moment, the two balls of flames collided in the air. Then there was a flash of light, but no sound was heard. Then the two balls of flames disappeared in the air. What? He blocked it? How is that possible? Everyone widened their eyes in disbelief. The disciples were even more shocked. They knew how powerful the fire of Chu Bai Luo was. Even a 3-star king couldn't resist it. But now Lin Xian had blocked it. No way, am I seeing things? He blocked the fire of Chu Bai Luo? What is that ball of black flame? How can it block the fire of Chu Bai Luo? Damn it, who is this kid? How did he do it? Cries of surprise rang out one after another. It was obvious that this scene had truly surprised everyone. This time, even Zhou Tian was anxious. He didn't expect Lin Xian to be able to resist his fire of Chu Bai Luo. The martial artists outside also widened their eyes in disbelief as if they had seen a ghost. That was the fire of Chu Bai Luo. Even a 3-star king couldn't resist it. It was extremely terrifying and invincible. But now it was blocked by someone. Moreover, the one who blocked it was a 1-star king. This was too unbelievable. At this moment, everyone looked at Lin Xian in bewilderment. No matter how they looked at him, he didn't look like a peerless expert. Could it be that this kid is hiding his cultivation? The faces of the disciples of the aristocratic families were also gloomy, while Zhou Tian sneered, Good, good, good. I didn't think that I would have misjudged you. You are also an expert. But let me tell you, that was just a casual attack. It's nothing if you can take it, but if you can take my next attack, then I'll be impressed. However, if you can't take it, then you can only be killed. This is what you get for messing with me. As he spoke, his body flickered with light. Boundless blue sky, flames flickered rapidly. Then, a huge flaming palm appeared in the wind. Its terrifying aura covered the sky and dyed the entire space green. Pum! The green flaming hand slapped towards Lin Xian. On the other hand, Lin Xian raised his finger. Countless black flames danced on his fingertip, forming a black long sword that quickly slashed forward. Boom! In the next moment, Bai Luo's palm collided with the black long sword, causing a terrifying tremor. These were two extremely terrifying flames. When they collided, the impact was even more frightening. Just the shock waves from the collision alone could probably destroy the entire Fengyue brothel. However, to everyone's surprise, the shock waves did not spread, and the Fengyue brothel remained unscathed. The reason was simple. Lin Xian and Zhou Tian's control of energy was very precise. Both of them fought within a controlled range and did not cause any damage to the Fengyue brothel. How terrifying! Even the disciples of the aristocratic families were frowning. Not only did the other party possess mysterious black flames that could compete with Zhou Tian's Bai Luo flames, but his control of energy was also no weaker than Zhou Tian's. Based on these 2 points alone, the other party was definitely an expert. But who was this person? Why hadn't they seen him before? Zhou Tian's expression turned solemn when he saw this. Good, good, good. I didn't expect to meet an expert like you in the Fengyue brothel today, but don't be too smug. Next, I will show you my true strength and let you know the true power of Bailuo flames. If you can't block it, then die. As soon as he finished speaking, countless black flames gathered to form a green palace. It looked like a celestial palace and exuded frightening energy. Then Zhou Tian activated the Emerald Palace and blasted it forward. Suddenly, a frightening explosion of energy swept toward Lin Xian like a storm. Everyone's expression changed when they sensed this energy. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuan quickly retreated to a safe place. The disciples of the aristocratic families also looked solemn. This was because they had never seen Zhou Tian so serious before. Even when he fought with the warrior from Fire Cloud Country, he was casual and calm. But now it seemed that Zhou Tian was serious. Could it be that this youth was really so frightening? That Zhou Tian would take him seriously? The Green Palace was mysterious and flashed with incomparable energy, causing everyone to tremble. However, Lin Xian's expression remained calm. He quickly formed a seal with his palms, and a black demon beast quickly took shape. It was a black phoenix that exuded black flames all over its body. It was extremely frightening. As Lin Xian pushed his palms out, the black phoenix roared and charged forward. He exuded a frightening energy fluctuation that made everyone tremble in fear. The black light shone and lit up the entire sky. The frightening black phoenix flew quickly in the sky like a real mythical beast. On the other side, Zhou Tian brought the frightening green palace and attacked quickly. In the next moment, the two collided. Suddenly, a frightening explosion of energy formed an energy storm that spread rapidly in all directions, and a black hole appeared in the void. Countless cracks appeared on the mysterious green palace, as if it would collapse at any moment. Zhou Tian's face was pale as he spat out a mouthful of blood and flew backward. This energy was so frightening that it sent Zhou Tian flying. Not only that, but the two disciples of the aristocratic families who were standing at the front also suffered a heavy blow and flew backward. Their faces were extremely pale and they looked terrified. They did not expect that just the aftermath of the energy would send them flying. At this moment, everyone was dumbfounded, especially the warriors outside. Their eyes were wide open, unable to believe what they were seeing. They did not expect that the powerful Zhou Tian and the disciples of the aristocratic families would be sent flying in an instant. What kind of technique was this? It was too frightening. Chapter 1533. In the restaurant, Jade Beauty and Bai Yuan also widened their beautiful eyes. Their small mouths were agape and they looked extremely shocked. They did not believe that someone could send Zhou Tian flying with one move. As for the remaining two martial artists from the aristocratic families, they looked very serious. Terrifying light burst from their eyes. They were like two long rainbows trying to see through Lin Xian. At this moment, everyone was stunned. Zhou Tian, who was so powerful, could not even withstand a single blow from the other party. This huge contrast made them unable to believe what they were seeing. What was even more shocking was that the other party was only a one-star king. So powerful! Who exactly is he? Outside, Han Kuin, the youth from Fire Cloud Nation, and Jade Beauty's brother were all shocked. Zhou Tian did not seem to be from the great Xian Empire. Could he be a martial artist from a neighboring country? But other than demonic blade Ran Tianya, who else could be so powerful? No one could figure it out. Lin Xian was expressionless. He said calmly, "I told you not to disturb me when I was drinking, but you didn't listen. Now you have a taste of your own medicine." With that, he shook his head slightly and ignored the crowd. He sat back down, picked up a cup of spirit wine and drank it slowly. Shocking, it was too shocking. He sent Zhou Tian and the two disciples flying with one move, but it was as if it was the most normal thing. His expression was calm, and he was neither surprised nor happy. This was a true powerhouse. He could shock everyone with just a raise of his hand. Whoosh! On the other side, Zhou Tian and the two disciples quickly returned. They were like lightning and appeared in front of Lin Xian again. Zhou Tian's hair was disheveled, and his expression was ferocious. He asked coldly, "Damn it, who are you?" To be honest, he was indeed shocked. He did not believe that someone could send him flying with one move. Moreover, he was very confident in his blue sky fire. Even a 3-star king was not his match. But now the other party, a 1-star king, had sent him flying. He could not believe it. Beside him, the two disciples were even more shocked because they were only swept by the aftershock. However, the shock wave still sent them flying. They couldn't accept this and glared fiercely at Lin Xian. "It doesn't matter who I am. What's important is that you don't bully others in the future. Otherwise, one day, your end will be even worse than now." Lin Xian glanced at the few of them and said plainly, "You're courting death." Zhou Tian roared furiously and quickly attacked. Being blasted away in public made him lose all face, so he could only kill this kid in front of him to vent the hatred in his heart and clear his name. The other two disciples from aristocratic families had the same thought. Thus, at this moment, they attacked together. The three disciples of the large families displayed unparalleled power and instantly unleashed their king's domains, quickly killing Lin Xian. In an instant, a terrifying light appeared. A biting, cold, murderous intent shrouded the world and quickly locked onto Lin Xian. 3 kings' domains flew out and tore the void apart. Zhou Tian and the other two were extremely powerful. Even 3-star kings were no match for them. Now that they were attacking, they were even more terrifying. The entire void trembled violently. The expressions of those who were watching the battle from afar changed drastically, and they were extremely frightened. This was because they realized that this aura was enough to kill all of them. Not good. That person is in danger. In the outside world, Han Kuin's face turned serious when he saw this scene. Damn it, those people are too shameless. How dare they gang up on one person? The youth from Flaming Cloud gritted his teeth and roared. They were naturally on Lin Xian's side because Lin Xian had helped them send the disciples of the aristocratic families flying, which allowed them to vent their anger. But now, it seemed that Lin Xian was in extreme danger. With the 3 disciples of the aristocratic families attacking together, no one would be able to defeat them. A ball of green flames danced and condensed an extremely terrifying energy. This was the blue sky flame. Above this flame, there was a palace-like figure. It was incomparably mysterious and quickly charged towards Lin Xian. Beside it, a blue light blade flew out quickly and tore the void apart. This was the ultimate technique of another disciple of the aristocratic families. The last person was equally terrifying. A white light, like a divine light, surrounded by a murderous aura, was incomparably fierce. The 3 of them attacked with extreme power. In the blink of an eye, the 3 deadly attacks arrived in front of Lin Xian and slashed down. Lin Xian's body also emitted black flames, which quickly met the blue sky flame. At the same time, a sharp sword qi surged out and met the biting, cold, murderous aura. As for the blue light blade, Lin Xian directly punched it. Boom! The fist was wrapped in green sword qi, and it fiercely slammed into the blue light blade. Immediately, a crisp sound of metal clashing could be heard. The sound was trembling, and it directly tore the void apart. As for the blue light blade, it quickly trembled and was sent flying. In an instant, the light on the blue light blade dimmed significantly, but it did not crack. One could imagine that it was definitely a precious treasure. Puff! The blue light blade was sent flying, and one of the disciples immediately took 3 steps back. His face was pale, and he spat out a mouthful of blood. He did not expect his opponent to be so strong. In an instant, his ultimate move was sent flying, and he was also severely injured. When the surrounding people saw this scene, they did not even have time to exclaim. the situation on the battlefield changed again. In the next moment, Lin Xian directly used the Dragon Sword Realm. Immediately, green sword qi rapidly attacked. Boom boom! The white divine light and the blue sky flame were both hit by the sharp sword qi. They were instantly sent flying, and their light dimmed. Puff! Zhou Tian and the other disciple also spat out a mouthful of blood, and their faces were full of shock. They really could not believe that their opponent was so strong. Previously, they were sent flying because they were careless, but now it was different. The three of them had gathered all their strength to attack their opponent, but they were still sent flying. Furthermore, the three of them were severely injured. This meant that their opponent's strength was definitely far beyond theirs. Are you all okay? When the last two disciples saw this scene, they immediately rushed forward to support Zhou Tian and the other two. At the same time, they looked at Lin Xian warily. This was because their opponent was too terrifying. Even if the two of them attacked again, they might not be able to take him down. Seeing the cautious look on their faces, Lin Xian shook his head slightly. You all can leave. I won't kill you. But remember, don't be so arrogant in the future. Then he waved his hand, and a green sword qi flew out, instantly shattering the defensive formation. Seeing this scene, the people outside were even more shocked. This formation could not be broken even if all of them attacked together. But a casual sword qi from their opponent blasted it open. The difference in strength made them extremely shocked. Chapter 1534. Whoosh! 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 The warriors outside immediately rushed in when they saw that the array was broken. The fastest to enter were Jade Beauty's brother, Han Kuin, and the youth from Fire Cloud Country. Sister, are you all right? The handsome youth came to Jade Beauty's side and asked with concern. The other warriors also came to Bai Yuren's side nervously. Then they all came to Lin Xian. Young hero, thank you for saving my sister. Jade Beauty's brother and the warriors from the Bai family looked at Lin Xian with gratitude. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran also came to Lin Xian and bowed slowly. Young master, thank you for saving us. Both of them blushed and looked at Lin Xian with deep adoration in their eyes. Lin Xian's previous actions were like a hero saving the beauties. When the two beauties were in danger, Lin Xian casually injured the enemy. This kind of shock went straight to the bottom of their hearts. Moreover, Lin Xian was powerful and handsome. Such a person was a hero in the hearts of the young girls. In addition, this world worshipped the strong. So it was not strange that Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran adored Lin Xian. Lin Xian smiled and said, You're too polite. It's just a small matter. It's not worth mentioning. With that, Lin Xian nodded slightly to them and turned to leave. Wait. Seeing that Lin Xian was about to leave, Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran became nervous, and a trace of anxiety flashed across their beautiful eyes. I haven't asked for your name. Where are you from, so that I can repay you in the future? No need. Lin Xian shook his head slightly and turned around again. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran sighed when they saw this. There was deep disappointment on their faces, and the surrounding people were even more heartbroken when they saw the scene. Needless to say, these two beautiful women were still in love with Lin Xian. Most likely, it would be difficult for others to succeed. What shocked them even more was that Lin Xian was not moved at all. He directly left without even leaving his name. One had to know that these were two peerless beauties. If they were to beckon, there would probably be tens of thousands of martial artists who would risk their lives for them. But now he had left so decisively without the slightest hesitation. This really shocked them to the core. Wait, just when everyone thought that Lin Xian was about to leave, another low voice sounded. Then, a few figures blocked his path. When they saw those people, the crowd was shocked. As for Lin Xian, he frowned. This was because the people blocking his path were none other than Zhou Tian and the other disciples from the aristocratic families. What? You're still not convinced? Do you still want to fight? However, if you continue to hit him, it won't be as simple as just injuring him. Lin Xian's gaze was somewhat cold. No, you've misunderstood. We have no intention of attacking again. Zhou Tian quickly shook his head and said, We just want to make friends with you. That's right, brother. Where are you from? What's your name? Where's your sex inheritance? Why don't you come to the Zhou family? I'll definitely give you the best treatment. Don't worry. You're not a slave, but an honored guest. That's right. Our family will also give you the best treatment, brother. Everyone was stunned when they heard that. Lin Xian was also surprised. He did not expect that these disciples from the aristocratic families were here to win him over. However, this was not his ambition, so he shook his head slightly. There's no need. I have other matters to attend to. Then his figure flashed and instantly disappeared on the spot. Brother, the disciples from the aristocratic families still wanted to say something, but they realized that the other party had already disappeared. They could not catch him at all. What kind of body movement is that? They were shocked and widened their eyes. This kind of body movement was beyond their knowledge. Looking at Lin Xian's departing figure, everyone had different feelings. Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran were a little sad. Jade Beauty's brother could not bear to watch any longer and had to comfort her. Sister, don't be discouraged. That person is so powerful. He might be here to participate in the martial arts conference. That's right, the martial arts conference. He must be here to participate in the martial arts conference. Jade Beauty was delighted. Beside her, Bai Yuran's eyes were also shining. After hearing that, everyone around them nodded. Indeed, the other party had appeared at this time and was so powerful. He must be here for the martial arts conference. Zhou Tian and the other disciples from the aristocratic families kept nodding when they heard that. Then they were puzzled. I wonder which prince invited this master. Could it be the third prince? It could also be the eldest prince. Only they can invite such a young master. Everyone nodded. They had to go to the martial arts conference to take a look. Perhaps they could really meet him. Even if they did not meet him, they would not miss such a grand occasion. The martial arts conference was not as serious as everyone had imagined. It was not as serious as it would be in the ring. It was a game between the princes and princesses. Based on the royal family's means, it would not be in the ring. Instead, it would be in the name of learning from each other. Yanba Villa was a very famous place in the imperial city. It was an ancient city that had a history of thousands of years. It was rumored that a villa had been built when the Great Xian Empire was founded. The martial arts conference was held in the Misty Wave Mountain Villa. That morning, the entire imperial city was in an uproar. Many ancient martial art practitioners hurriedly rushed to Yanba Villa. They were too excited because there were too many people who had come to watch the competition. If they were late, they might not even be able to enter. Yanba Villa was magnificent and picturesque. There was even a faint layer of clouds surrounding the villa, which added to the artistic conception. Early in the morning, the entire Yanba Mountain Villa was already crowded with people. Fortunately, Yanba Villa was big enough to accommodate all these people. Most of the people who came to watch the competition this time were the younger generation of ancient martial art practitioners. At this moment, it could be said that all the elites and talents of the aristocratic families in the Great Xian Empire had gathered here. Not only that, but the genius ancient martial art practitioners of the surrounding countries had also come. It could be said that this was a rare grand occasion. There were even people placing bets here. For a moment, it could be said that it was very lively. Of course, the favorite to win was Jiang Nantian, the third prince's subordinate. There was also Han Li, the first prince's subordinate. These two people could be said to be unrivaled in the younger generation of the Great Xian Empire. And in this martial arts conference, these two people's names were the most famous. In the Misty Wave Mountain Villa, among the crowd, A fat man in a golden robe was looking around. He seemed to be looking for someone. "Fatty Luo, what are you looking for? I'll bet with you that you absolutely won't find it." Beside him, a youth with a thin figure said with a smile. Chapter 1535. "Fatty Luo, what are you looking for? I'll bet you won't find it." A skinny young man beside him said with a smile. "Gambler, you only know how to spend all day. Do you know anything else?" Fatty Luo was impatient. "Don't disturb me. I'm looking for someone." "Looking for someone? Let me guess. I bet it's a woman." "Haha, you guessed wrong this time. It's a man." "Damn. Fatty Luo, when did you change your orientation?" "Why didn't I know?" The youth subconsciously took 2 steps back. "Get lost. You're the one who changed your orientation. It's someone I met on the way. He's very interesting. I think he should be participating in the martial arts conference." "Oh, who is it?" The youth was interested. "Forget it. I didn't find him. I'll tell you when he makes his move." Fatty Luo shook his head. Then the 2 of them went back into the crowd and disappeared. On the other side, Zhou Tian and the other disciples of the aristocratic families were also greeting people. However, Zhou Tian and the others were somewhat absent-minded, as if they were also looking for someone. "What's wrong? Why do you look uneasy?" someone asked. Zhou Tian shook his head. "Nothing." However, he muttered in his heart, "Damn it. Will that guy come to the martial arts conference or not?" Not only him, but Jade Beauty by Yuran and the others also looked somewhat anxious. In the depths of Misty Wave Mountain Manor, 2 beautiful women were strolling on the grass. One of them had a cold temperament. It was the disciple of the Pill Institute, Chiyu. The other woman was also beautiful. She wore a phoenix robe and a phoenix crown. She had the aura of a superior. She was the Great Xian Empire's Princess Kaidai. At this moment, the 2 were strolling. Princess Katie's expression was somewhat solemn. She still hadn't found a candidate who could fight against Zhang and Tian and Hanli. Therefore, it would be difficult for him to rush into the first echelon this time. Princess Kaidai thought of something and slowly asked, "By the way, is the person you told me about here?" "He should be here, but he didn't report," Chuyu replied. "But I'm sure he'll be back. That's because I possess the conditions that he wants." "That's good." Hearing this, Princess Kaidai nodded, but she didn't care too much. According to the information she received, that person was at most a 2-star king. However, what she lacked the most was someone who could contend against Jiang Nantian and Hanli. "Princess, it's almost time. Let's go," Chuyu said. "All right." Princess Kaidai nodded. Then, the 2 of them flew into the distance, like countless streams of light. At this moment, the crowd in the Yanba Mountain Villa was once again in an uproar. That was because the princes and princesses had all arrived. The 3rd prince was a handsome young man. He held a folding fan in his hand, and his entire person was extremely carefree. Countless experts gathered around him. They were all incomparably powerful, making people look up to them. The 1st prince, on the other hand, was different. He was burly like a fiend god and exuded a domineering aura. His expression was as if he was the ruler of the world. When the 1st prince and the 3rd prince arrived, they looked at each other. With a cold snort, the 1st prince led his talented dancers to a pavilion. As for the 3rd prince, he narrowed his eyes and led everyone to another pavilion. Everyone held their breaths in shock. They didn't expect that the 2 strongest princes would make their move. However, at this moment, someone shouted, "Look, Princess Kaidai has also arrived." Princess Kaidai could be said to be a legend. Among the many princes of the Great Xian Empire, she stood in the 2nd echelon. She could definitely be said to be a blessed daughter of the heavens. Thus, her arrival caused a huge commotion. This was because not only was Princess Kaidai a legend, but she was also a stunning beauty. Her combined attractiveness didn't lose out to the first prince and the third prince. That should be Fairy Chuyu, right? Everyone looked forward and discovered that beside Princess Kai Dai stood a cold and aloof woman. The two descended like celestial immortals. Then many powerful martial artists walked forward. Soon, they stopped in front of Princess Kai Dai. They were Princess Kai Dai's subordinates. A group of people also occupied a pavilion. After them, there were other princes and princesses. Soon, the surrounding pavilions were all occupied, and in the center was a huge lake. It was dark green like it had been washed. The battle later would be carried out on this lake. At the beginning, it was considered a few warm-up matches. A few ordinary princes sent out their subordinates to spar. But even so, everyone still watched with relish, because none of those who could go on stage were weak. The weakest was a two-star king. Lin Xian had also arrived, but he had arrived rather late. By the time he arrived, the battle between the princes had already begun. He stood in the crowd like a spectator, silently watching the battle. Familiar voices came from the front. It turned out that the one who was participating was Han Kuan. Although Han Kuan was a martial artist of the Golden Jade country, he came this time to participate in the martial arts convention, because as long as he showed some talent here, he would definitely be famous throughout the great Xian Empire. At that time, he might even be fancied by some powerful sections. Therefore, although this martial arts convention was a game between the princes and princesses, there were also many genius martial artists from the surrounding countries. Bang bang! Han Kuan's whole body emitted a golden light. Between his moves, there was a fierce offensive. Soon, he defeated a few martial artists. For a moment, everyone was discussing. They had no choice. Although the great Xian Empire was strong, Han Kuan was a three-star king after all. Ordinary people were no match for him, unless they were disciples of powerful families like Zhou Tian. While everyone was discussing, the princes and princesses could not stand it anymore. This was a game between the princes of the great Xian Empire. Now that a martial artist of the Golden Jade country was showing off, it made them lose face. Hee, looks like it's time for us to take action. The third prince waved the folding fan in his hand and said with a smile, "Humph, he's just a guy who doesn't know his place. Let me take care of him." A bald youth on the third prince's side said quickly. This youth was the one who had mocked Dong Qianshan previously. He must be a powerful figure. At this moment, seeing Blood Monk take the initiative to ask for a fight, the third prince smiled. "With you taking action, I'm relieved." Whoosh! In the next moment, Blood Monk's figure flashed, and he appeared in the arena. He floated above the lake, his whole body emitting a powerful aura. "Kid, I'll play with you. I'll let you know that this is the great Xian Empire. It's not a place where you can behave atrociously." Chapter 1536. Kid, I'll play with you. I'll let you know that this is the Xian Empire. It's not a place where you can behave atrociously. Humph. Han Kuan snorted coldly. He had come this time to make a name for himself. Therefore, he was naturally happy to see that the other party was a powerful martial artist. Only by defeating a genius could he quickly become famous. Kill! With a furious roar, Han Kuan instantly unleashed the metal domain. His entire body seemed to be covered in a layer of gold, shining with golden light like a golden giant. With a punch, golden light filled the entire sky. "Haha, petty tricks. Watch me break you." Opposite him, Blood Monk laughed loudly. He also unleashed a blood-colored domain that emitted a monstrous smell of blood. In an instant, his eyes became extremely red, and a pair of blood-colored wings appeared on his back. The blood-colored saber in his hand was bright red and emitted a monstrous, killing intent. At this moment, this arrogant youth seemed to have turned into a demon, surrounded by a blood-colored light. Break! With a cold laugh, Blood Monk waved the blood-colored saber in his hand. Suddenly, a blood-colored saber light burst forth. It was extremely terrifying and swept across the entire sky. This blood-colored saber light was too terrifying. It was like a blood-colored river that shook the void. In the next moment, a light flashed, and the blood-colored saber cut the golden fist in half. Not only that, the entire void was split open, and a black crack appeared. The lake below stirred up thousands of waves that crashed in all directions. What? It's broken! Han Kuen's pupils constricted. He did not expect the other party's attack to be so fierce. In the blink of an eye, the dim, blood-colored saber light was still slashing toward him. Retreat! His figure swayed, and he turned into a streak of golden light and quickly retreated. Want to leave? That's not up to you. Blood Monk laughed sinisterly, and the saber in his hand vibrated again. Instantly, 8 crimson rays of light shot out from his body. These blood-colored saber lights were too terrifying. They were like 8 blood-colored dragons that roared ferociously. The blood-colored saber lights that filled the sky instantly enveloped Han Kuen. Boom! Boom! Han Kuen was beaten until he spat out blood and flew backward. What? He was defeated so quickly? All the surrounding warriors widened their eyes in disbelief. Who's that bald youth? How could it be so terrifying? Even a 3-star king is no match for him? Everyone exclaimed. Jade Beauty and the others' faces changed once again. They didn't expect that there would be so many experts in the martial arts conference. It hadn't been long since the battle started, and Han Kuen had already lost. Humph! With your little ability, don't come here to make a fool of yourself. Monk Shui looked ferocious and disdainful. Who is this? So powerful? You don't even know him. He's the Bloody Monk, ranked 9th under the 3rd prince. Everyone was discussing. And at this time that Blood Monk spoke once more, this martial competition is a grand occasion of the Xian Empire. Those ants from the surrounding countries shouldn't come out and make a spectacle of themselves. This voice was filled with arrogance and provocation. Immediately, the warriors from the surrounding countries who had come to participate in the war were enraged. Among them, the youth from Fire Cloud Nation was the fastest to rush out. In an instant, he summoned the fiery red earth fire domain. Instantly, endless flames soared into the sky, and a sea of fire spread out. His speed was very fast, and he arrived in front of Monk Shui in an instant. With a wave of his hand, a terrifying wave of fire surged forward. Immediately, the lake below was evaporated, forming a mist that filled the surroundings. What a terrifying flame! Who is this guy? Everyone was shocked and retreated. This is an expert from Fire Cloud Nation. What a terrifying flame power! Many people were shocked. In the crowd, Zhou Tian and the others shook their heads slightly when they saw this. No way! Monk Shui was a true expert. The people from the surrounding countries had no chance of winning against him. Only if that person was here would it work. Indeed, as soon as he said that, the situation in front of him changed. Monk Shui sneered and slashed out with his long saber. Immediately, a blood-red light soared into the sky with a biting, cold, murderous intent, shattering the void. Boom! The sea of fire in the sky was split open by the saber. Not only that, the blood-red saber light slashed at the youth from Fire Cloud Nation, sending him flying a few thousand meters away. Humph! I've said it before. You can't even withstand a single blow. Monk Shui held the long saber in his hand and stood in the void. His entire body was emitting a monstrous, murderous intent. He was like a demon. In the sky, the blood-red saber light gradually disappeared, and the crack in the void that was split open was quickly mending. However, the lake below was evaporated, but it did not matter. Soon, a middle-aged man walked out. He formed a seal with his hands and shouted coldly. Immediately, a boundless amount of dark blue seawater gushed out from his mouth, filling up the dried-up lake once again. In an instant, everything was restored to its original state. Only the expert from Fire Cloud Nation was injured again. Monk Shui did not mind that he had defeated the expert from Fire Cloud Nation. Then he turned his gaze and stared at Princess Kaidai. I heard that Princess Kaidai has recently taken in a mysterious expert who even defeated Dong Qianshan. I wonder where he is. Would you like to have a battle with him? Hearing this, the crowd exclaimed in surprise. On the other hand, Dong Qianshan's face was terrifyingly gloomy. His eyes were filled with murderous intent. Despicable, too despicable. His opponent was obviously rubbing salt into his wound. Humph! With the third prince here, it was impossible for him to fight Monk Shui, so he could only snort. At the same time, a cold smile appeared at the corner of his mouth. In his opinion, even if Monk Shui was stronger than him, he might not be able to defeat his opponent. It was very likely that Monk Shui would be defeated like him. Thinking of this, he immediately took pleasure in Monk Shui's misfortune. The surrounding martial artists also exclaimed in surprise. The news of Dong Qianshan's defeat had already spread. They had also heard about it. At this moment, when they saw that Monk Shui was going to challenge the mysterious expert, they immediately became interested. Many people applauded and cheered. However, the atmosphere on Princess Katie's side was a little different. That was because Lin Xian did not come at all. Chu Yu's expression was a little awkward as he muttered in his heart, "That damned guy, what is he doing? Why hasn't he appeared yet?" The experts under Princess Katie's command also looked dissatisfied. Humph, what mysterious expert. He's probably just a coward. He hasn't appeared until now. How can such a coward be called an expert? That damned guy, he doesn't dare to appear. He has embarrassed us for nothing. These people were very dissatisfied with the mysterious expert. In the crowd, Fatty Luo also exclaimed softly. His eyes flickered. "Why don't you guess who that mysterious expert is?" "Oh, you want to bet with me?" Beside him, the young man said with a smile, "I bet that this person is definitely not ordinary. He's already here. How do you know?" Fatty Luo asked. Chapter 1537. Since it's a bet, of course it's a guess. What? Do you dare to bet? Let's bet. Do you think I'm afraid of you? Fatty Luo snorted. On the other side, Zhou Tian and the others frowned when they heard this. For some reason, a figure suddenly appeared in their minds. Damn it, these two can't be the same person, right? They thought of the handsome youth who had defeated them at the Wind Moon brothel. When they thought of this possibility, they sucked in a breath of cold air. In the crowd, Lin Xian's eyes flickered. The other party was naturally talking about him, but he didn't immediately make a move. In his opinion, the other party wasn't worth his time. The other party was ranked 9th under the third prince and was stronger than Dong Qianshan, but not by much. To be honest, Lin Xian wasn't interested in such a person. The ones he truly wanted to fight were Jiang Nantian and Han Li. These two had great reputations among the younger generation of the great Xian Empire. On the way, he had heard many legends about them. Only such a person was worthy of being his opponent. Thus, although the other party was arrogant, he didn't make a move. After waiting for a long time, no one came out. Monk Shui's expression turned sinister as he looked at Princess Kaidai again. What? Could it be that the princess doesn't want him to come out? That person was indeed invited by me, but it's not up to me whether or not you can make him fight, Princess Kaidai said indifferently. From the beginning to the end, she was calm and collected, with a calm expression. To be honest, she hadn't seen that mysterious expert yet. However, she cleverly avoided this matter. If the other party didn't make a move, it meant that Monk Shui didn't have the ability. If the other party made a move, it would further prove her words. Thus, this could be considered a tactful rejection. Humph! Monk Shui snorted. If you don't dare to fight, then so be it. Princess, there's no need to be so tactful. You're courting death. Is the princess's word something you can question? With a cold shout, a figure flew out from Princess Katie's pavilion. That person moved like lightning and flew out of the pavilion in an instant, arriving in the sky. This was a young man in silver armor. He had a small mustache, and his entire person looked extremely fierce. You? No. The blood monk looked at him and laughed coldly. Then he quickly shook his head. What did you say? The mustached man was furious. You're the 9th ranked warrior, and so am I. Why can't I do it? Today, I will let you know how powerful I am. Humph. I'm ranked 9th under the 3rd prince. What about you? At this point, Monk Shui no longer spoke. However, the contempt in his words was very obvious. You're courting death. Infuriated, the mustached man clenched his fist, and a silver spear swiftly materialized in his hand. Then he thrust out his spear. Like a silver bolt of lightning, it streaked across the void, and a terrifying aura gushed out instantly. Clang! On the other side, Monk Shui slashed out with his blade as well. Suddenly, the two of them collided with each other, producing a deafening clang. The blood-red saber light crisscrossed. The silver light rushed to the heavens, and the terrifying energy surged like an ocean. The sky was instantly enveloped by the two energies. Only two blurry figures could be seen colliding with each other. Pum! Another earth-shattering sound was heard, and then the man with the mustache was sent flying. Humph! I've said it before, you're no match for me. What? He's defeated so quickly? Everyone exclaimed in disbelief. Could the difference in strength between Princess Kaidai and the 3rd prince be so great? As everyone discussed, Princess Katie's face turned grave. Indeed, both of them were ranked 9th, but the difference in strength was so obvious. This undoubtedly showed that there was still a big gap between her and the 3rd prince. Thinking of this, Princess Kaidai frowned slightly. As for the martial artists beside her, their faces were also gloomy. Looking at the situation, it would be useless even if the others went up. They could only send out the top 5 experts. However, the opponent was only ranked 9th. If they sent out the top 5 experts, they would not be able to fight in the future. Therefore, for a moment, Princess Katie's side was quiet. Monk Shui had a smug look on his face. Then his eyes swept around like lightning, and he said coldly, I'll ask you one last time. Are you really not willing to come out? His voice was like thunder, reverberating in all directions. Although he did not mention a name, everyone knew that the person he was talking about was the mysterious expert who defeated Dong Qianshan. Humph, what a coward! Monk Shui sneered and ignored him. He was ready to challenge someone else. However, as soon as Monk Shui said that, a sword light shot into the sky like a rainbow and slashed at him. What? Seeing this scene, everyone exclaimed in surprise. They did not expect that someone would dare to attack Monk Shui. Monk Shui's pupils shrank and his face was full of shock. Firstly, he did not believe that someone would dare to attack him. Moreover, the sword light was simply too sharp. In a hurry, he could not dodge at all. He could only defend himself. Endless blood light surged and formed a blood shield in front of him. It was extremely red. As soon as the shield formed, the sharp sword light slashed at him. With a slash, his blood-red shield was cut into 2 halves. In the next moment, the terrifying sword light enveloped Monk Shui. Clang! Monk Shui was shocked. He raised the long saber in his hand to block the attack. Finally, he blocked the sword light. Suddenly, a sonorous sound was heard, causing everyone's ears to tremble. As for Monk Shui, he was sent flying by the tremendous force. What? Seeing this scene, everyone was stunned. Even the elites who were participating in the martial arts conference were shocked. They could not believe it. Monk Shui was sent flying by a single slash? How was that possible? Who was the one who did it? Could it be one of the elites under the first prince? Thinking of this, everyone looked at the first prince. However, they soon realized that the first prince was also stunned. He did not even know what had happened. This made everyone even more puzzled. Who did it? Everyone was puzzled and could only look at the sky again. In the sky, Monk Shui was sent flying. He only stopped when he was thousands of miles away. Then his face became extremely ugly. Although he was not injured by the attack, his entire arm was completely numb. Not only that, but the blood in his body was also churning rapidly. One could imagine how much shock that attack had caused him. Who is it? Get out here! Monk Shui roared. He was about to go crazy. Previously, he had been extremely arrogant and didn't put anyone in his eyes. However, not long after, he was sent flying by someone. Moreover, he still did not know who his opponent was. This kind of situation made him lose all face. Chapter 1538. So he roared madly. However, he didn't notice anyone's figure. What? You dare to attack, but don't have the guts to stand out? Monk Shui roared madly. I'll let you know the consequences of offending me. Wham! Suddenly, the sword on the waist of a nearby cultivator trembled, and it swiftly floated up into the sky. It's you. Monk Shui's gaze was like a bolt of lightning as he stared fixedly at that cultivator. On the other hand, that cultivator's face instantly turned pale from fright, and he shook his head madly. No, it wasn't me. It has nothing to do with me. He was on the verge of tears because he was only an ordinary king who just entered the king realm. So, how could he possibly dare to attack Monk Shui? However, to his shock, his sword had actually left its sheath and floated up into the sky. He was utterly unable to explain this. So, for a time, everyone's gazes converged onto him. Of course it wasn't him. I'm just borrowing his sword. Meanwhile, another voice resounded. This voice resounded through the heavens and the earth, but no one noticed where it came from. Even the first prince and the third prince, as well as the experts under them, were frowning. Damn it! Who are you? Monk Shui had no choice but to stare at the sword in the sky and roar furiously. It was a very strange scene because only a sword floated in the sky. Who am I? Who did you say I was? Weren't you very arrogant earlier and wanted to fight me? What? It's you. As soon as these words were spoken, Monk Shui was shocked, and the others in the surroundings were shocked as well. Now they finally knew who it was that had attacked. However, they hadn't expected that it would actually be Monk Shui. What? Could it really be that mysterious expert? That mysterious expert who defeated Dong Qianshan? Everyone was extremely shocked, and they carefully searched the surroundings. Within the pavilion, Dong Qianshan's face instantly turned gloomy. He quickly gritted his teeth and started to panic, because he'd heard that voice again. Yes, it's him. It's definitely him. That damnable voice. I'll never forget it. Dong Qianshan had a savage expression on his face. He'd once swore that he would definitely kill Monk Shui during the martial competition and restore his reputation. But now, after hearing the other party's voice and seeing the sharp sword from before, he actually lost his courage and didn't dare to challenge the other party again. However, Shui Shang gritted his teeth and said, "You've already made your move. Hurry up and show yourself. This young master will show you what a true expert is." His voice was laced with killing intent. However, Lin Xian's voice rang out. "No need. That sword represents me. If you want to fight, I'll fight with you." To be honest, Lin Xian didn't want to make a move, but the other party dared to insult him. This was something that he couldn't tolerate. Therefore, he made his move. However, there was no need for him to fight someone like Blood Monk himself. All he needed to do was to control a longsword. What arrogant words! Everyone exclaimed when they heard Lin Xian's voice. On Princess Kai Dai's side, Chuyu let out a sigh of relief. Fortunately, the other party came. Princess Kai Dai also nodded slightly. To be honest, the other party's strength had exceeded her imagination. To be able to send Monk Shui flying with a single strike, he was definitely an expert. The eyes of the cultivators beside her also flickered. To be honest, they were also very shocked. In the sky, Monk Shui was enraged when he heard this. Arrogant, he was too arrogant, using a long sword to fight him. Who did he think he was? He was the 9th-ranked expert under the 3rd prince. When had he ever been looked down upon like this? Even Jiang Nintian and Han Li wouldn't dare to say such arrogant words. In the next moment, he coldly snorted. Brat, I'll find you and tear you to pieces. Let's talk about it after you defeat that long sword in the sky. Lin Xian's voice rang out once again. Then, sword light flashed, and the long sword in the sky bloomed with resplendent light. It was like a sun that illuminated the surroundings. At this moment, endless sword light covered the sky. Terrifying sword chi shook the void and quickly trembled. What? So powerful! Everyone's expression changed when they sensed this aura. They originally thought that the other party was just being arrogant, but now it seemed that wasn't necessarily the case. Just this aura alone was enough to make their hearts tremble. It could be said that the other party had the strength to be so arrogant. In the next moment, the long sword trembled and turned into a shocking rainbow that slashed forward. You're courting death. Monk Shui also roared. The blood sea domain around him vibrated rapidly. Countless blood-red lights surrounded him and formed an extremely terrifying demonic beast. It was a demonic beast with a snake's head and a tiger's body. Its body was like a mountain and its blood chi was monstrous. A roar shook the void. In the next moment, this blood-red demonic beast quickly pounced forward. Boom! In an instant, it collided with that resplendent long sword. Hahadai! Monk Shui laughed sinisterly. He had used an ultimate technique that was extremely terrifying. Even a 3-star king couldn't resist it, not to mention a sword that was only half an earth rank. The others also exclaimed because no one was optimistic about Lin Xian's chances. Monk Shui's aura was too powerful. He was like a peerless demonic king that emitted a terrifying aura. Puff! However, in the next moment, everyone was stunned because the mountain-like, blood-red, demonic beast was slashed apart by the sword. What? How is this possible? Everyone was shocked. Their bodies trembled and their eyes were filled with fear. What kind of technique is this? How could he slash apart such a terrifying attack with one sword? Monk Shui's expression changed drastically. He shook his head frantically. Impossible. This is only a half-earth grade longsword. How could it slash apart my attack? He couldn't believe it. However, in the next moment, he roared angrily. Damn it. That was because the long sword didn't disappear. Instead, it slashed towards him with an even more powerful force. Get lost. Monk Shui was furious. He raised his saber to meet the attack. The blood-red long sword surged and brought about a boundless sea of blood. It collided with the long sword and clashed with it. Rumble! The sound of the collision was ear-piercing. It was like a monstrous wave that slammed in all directions. The sky surged, and a large black crack appeared in the sky and spread in all directions. This attack was simply too terrifying. Clang! In the next moment, the long sword in Monk Shui's hand cracked and broke in half. What? How is this possible? Monk Shui's pupils shrank. He couldn't believe it. However, in the next moment, he screamed in pain because the long sword had already slashed his body. Puff! The blood-red light soared into the sky. It was extremely hot. Monk Shui was sent flying. Defeated. Everyone was stunned. They didn't expect the battle to end so quickly. The outcome was beyond everyone's expectations. Monk Shui was defeated. He was completely defeated. In front of the long sword, he couldn't resist at all. No way. That person is so powerful. Yeah, he didn't even show his true body. He defeated Monk Shui with just a long sword. That's unbelievable. Chapter 1539. Everyone on Princess Katie's side was shocked. The person you found is not bad. Princess Kai Dai revealed a rare smile. To be honest, I didn't know he was so powerful. Chu Yu was also shocked. Indeed, when she met Lin Xian previously, he only displayed the strength of a 2-star king. However, from the looks of it, even a 3-star king was no match for him. In the surroundings, the experts under Princess Kai Dai's command were silent. Previously, they were still mocking Lin Xian, thinking that he was just a figurehead. However, from the looks of it, they were completely wrong. Lin Xian defeated Blood Monk easily without using his real body and only controlling a long sword. They knew that they were no match for him. The atmosphere on the third prince's side was extremely solemn. The martial artists under the third prince's command all widened their eyes in disbelief. Meanwhile, Dong Qinshan's face was filled with fear. Fortunately, he did not make a move. Otherwise, he would be the one dead now. Even the third prince's expression was solemn. To be honest, even he did not expect Blood Monk to be defeated so thoroughly. Instantly, he snorted in displeasure. Humph! What is this trash Blood Monk doing? He's a disgrace to us. Fire Demon said coldly. Then he looked at the third prince. I'll go. His methods are a little strange. I don't feel at ease if I send someone else. All right, go ahead. You must take him down. The third prince's voice was solemn. However, he was not too worried. Fire Demon was the third strongest martial artist under his command. He was extremely powerful. In the past, all the experts under Princess Katie's command combined could not even defeat Fire Demon. Therefore, the third prince was not worried about him taking action. However, he still snorted in his heart. He wanted to see who this mysterious martial artist was. How dare he be so arrogant? Moreover, he had already made up his mind. After defeating Lin Xian, he would make Lin Xian submit. Otherwise, he would kill Lin Xian, because if such an expert could not be used by him, he would not let anyone else have him. Thinking of this, a cold glint appeared in the third prince's eyes. On the other side, Fire Demon's body swayed and he appeared high up in the sky. His robe fluttered as a powerful aura emitted from his body. He was like the god of fire, mighty and extraordinary. What? Fire Demon! Seeing this scene, everyone was shocked. They didn't expect that it would be Fire Demon's turn to make a move so soon. The Fire Demon was different from the Blood Monk. Previously, Monk Shui was only a martial artist, ranked 9th. He could be considered an expert. However, in the eyes of the crowd, he was not that famous. However, the Fire Demon was different. He was a super expert and had a great reputation among the younger generation. There was almost no one who didn't know about the pair of fiery demon palms. Thus, when they saw the Fire Demon attack, everyone was extremely shocked. Even Princess Kai Dai's side is worried. This was because the number 1 expert on their side had been defeated by the Fire Demon. Therefore, they knew the Fire Demon's strength very well. Oh no, the Fire Demon is attacking. I wonder if that mysterious person can block it? The group of martial artists were worried, but Princess Kai Dai also frowned. She asked in a low voice, "What do you think? Can he defeat the Fire Demon?" "I don't know." Chu Yu shook his head. "But from the looks of it, even if he can't win, he won't lose too badly." Hearing that, Princess Kai Dai nodded slightly. For some reason, she became nervous. This was because she realized that whether she could enter the first echelon this time depended on a mysterious person who had yet to show himself. If it was in the past, she would not care about it. However, it was happening now. In the sky, the Fire Demon's aura was strong. He looked around and said coldly, "Kid, I advise you to come out and fight with your real body. Otherwise, you will die a horrible death. My real body is here. Whether you can find it or not will depend on your ability." Lin Xian's voice sounded again. Facing the fire demon, his voice was still calm and fearless. "Humph! You don't know what's good for you." The fire demon sneered and then slapped his palm. Suddenly, a fiery red palm appeared in the sky like a glazed flame. Soon, it grabbed the treasure sword that was floating in the sky. Sizzle! Clang! A terrifying heat was emitted like a wave of fire. In an instant, the half-Earth-grade treasure sword was burned into two. "What? That's terrifying." Seeing the scene, everyone felt their scalps go numb. That was a half-Earth-grade treasure sword. Although it was not as good as an Earth-grade treasure weapon, it was still a sharp treasure sword. But now it was actually broken by someone. This scene was simply too shocking. What a terrifying flame! In the crowd, the youth from Fire Cloud Nation was shocked when he saw this scene. As a fire-type martial artist, he naturally knew how difficult it was to break a half-Earth-grade treasure sword with just flames. However, the other party had done it so easily. In addition to the other party's strength, he had definitely mastered a very terrifying flame. Not only the Fire Cloud Nation's experts, but even Zhou Tian frowned. "Damn it, this guy's flame is even more terrifying than my blue sky flames. It would be difficult for that guy to defeat him." On the other side, Fatty Luo rubbed his hands. "Brother, I bet on you to win. You must hold on for me." Beside him, the youth shook his head. "Fatty Luo, you are too bold. You actually bet on someone I've never heard of. I dare to bet that you will definitely lose this time." In fact, that was what everyone thought. Almost everyone had bet on the fire demon. The fire demon was too powerful. No matter how strong the mysterious person was, he would not be able to defeat him. "Hee, kid, your sword is already broken. Come out." The fire demon sneered, his expression extremely arrogant. In the crowd, Lin Xian also frowned slightly. He did not expect the other party's flame to be so terrifying that it could break a half-Earth-grade treasure sword so easily. "Interesting. You are not bad. You are worth my time," Lin Xian said indifferently as he nodded. When this voice rang out, it caused an uproar among the crowd. Even the fire demon's face darkened. "Kid, you have successfully angered me. You better not let me find you. Otherwise, you will die a horrible death." However, what answered him was a fierce attack. The broken sword blossomed with a resplendent light. Then, two shocking streaks of sword chi slashed forward. "You are courting death." The fire demon was enraged and waved his palm. At the same time, a fiery red light overflowed into the sky, piercing through the void. As for those sword energies, they were simply too sharp. The sword chi crisscrossed and the light soared into the sky. The terrifying aura made everyone's heart tremble. The sword slashed out, splitting all the fiery red palm shadows. At this moment, the broken sword was like a peerless divine sword, invincible. Chapter 1540. What kind of sword chi is this? It's too terrifying. This person must be a peerless swordsman. Everyone was shocked. The first prince, third prince, Princess Kai Dai, and their subordinates all wore solemn expressions. This was because they discovered that the other party's strength was beyond their expectations. "You're courting death. Break for me." The fire demon was furious because that sharp sword chi made him feel extremely uncomfortable. It even made him feel a sense of trepidation. He had only felt this feeling from Jiang and Tian and Hanli. But he didn't expect that a mysterious martial artist would be able to make him feel this way. He couldn't accept this. This uneasy feeling made the fire demon fly into a rage. In the next moment, he stretched out his palm and a resplendent light blossomed. Suddenly, A huge red palm stretched out like a cloud of fire, covering the sky and earth, completely enveloping all of the sword chi. His goal was very simple. He wanted to refine all of the sword chi. Boom! The fiery red palm fell, bringing with it a terrifying temperature. He, the fire demon, was famous for his pair of fire demon palms. His palms were fused with extremely terrifying flames. These flames were even more terrifying than the legendary blue sky flames. Thus, it could be said that there was nothing that could remain intact under his palm. He believed that the other party's sword chi was the same. At this moment, seeing the fire demon use the fire demon palms, everyone was shocked. The martial artists on the third prince's side also nodded continuously. Even some of the older generation figures in the villa were extremely shocked. Many of the older generation experts nodded one after another. They were very optimistic about this fire demon because, with his talent and strength, his future achievements would definitely be limitless. Boom! The terrifying fire demon palms stretched out, bringing with it endless heat waves, directly evaporating the lake below. Not only that, but several cracks were also blasted open in the void. The entire sky violently boiled like a huge boiler, causing everyone's faces to turn pale. Some of the weaker ones were even directly sent flying by the aftermath of this palm. But fortunately, none of the people present were weak. After the initial cry of alarm, they quickly adjusted their defenses and retreated to a safe distance. In the next moment, they looked forward and cried out in alarm, because in the sky, the two streaks of sword chi were rapidly trembling, emitting a resplendent light. Then they turned into countless streaks of sword light that soared into the sky. That strong aura was too sharp. Even in this heat wave environment, everyone still felt a chill. Humph. Die. The fire demon snorted coldly as all the power in his body surged into his palm again. Suddenly, the fire demon palm released an incomparably bright light. In an instant, it enveloped all the sword lights. Boom! Boom! The terrifying sound of the collision rang out like a clap of thunder, resounding through the world. 10,000 swords chimed in unison, as if they wanted to destroy everything. However, in the end, all of the sword chi was still enveloped by the flame demon palm. Not only that, but the entire void was distorted by the heat, and everyone's spiritual energy was evaporated. Ha 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 ha. Brat, your sword chi is gone. Hurry up and come out. Fire demon raised his head and laughed. As for the warriors under the third prince, they all cheered. Great, the fire demon is so strong. That was natural. The fire demon was ranked third. Humph, that brat is so arrogant. He actually dared to look down on the fire demon. Now he knows how powerful I am. What mysterious expert. I think he's just SOO. Humph, why isn't there any movement? I guess the brat is definitely scared out of his wits and doesn't dare to come out at all. The third prince's side laughed wildly, while the others were exclaiming. On Princess Katie's side, the atmosphere was solemn. Sure enough, he still lost. No choice. The fire demon is too strong. Several warriors shook their heads and sighed. Princess Katie's expression was also solemn. Are we really going to lose? She had already discovered that the mysterious expert's strength was even more terrifying than the number one expert on her side. But even so, she still could not defeat the fire demon. Was she really unable to enter the first tier? Ha 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 ha. Princess Kaidai, don't look forward to it anymore. Do you have anyone else who wants to join the battle? If not, I'm going to challenge someone else. In the sky, the fire demon's expression was wild. He did not put Princess Katie's side in his eyes at all. The warriors under the third prince also laughed. Fire demon, don't waste time. Our opponent is the first prince. That's right. The third prince nodded. He only had one enemy, and that was the first prince. He did not put the others, including Princess Kaidai, in his eyes. All right. The fire demon nodded and prepared to challenge the first prince. But at this moment he frowned. On the third prince's side, the smile on his face instantly froze. The surrounding martial artists were all stunned. This was because a sharp sword light lit up in the sky, shaking the void as it slashed out from the terrifying fire demon's palm. In the sky, the sea of fire surged and waves of air rolled. A huge crack appeared, which was cut open by the sword chi. Not only that, but there were countless cracks in the crack. The entire sky seemed to have been cut into pieces. What? It rushed out. Everyone was shocked and could not believe it. The third prince's side was even more shocked. This was because a shocking sword light, like a bright divine rainbow, lit up the sky and slashed out from the fire demon's palm. Not only that, the sword light quickly slashed towards the fire demon. The fire demon's expression changed immediately. He did not expect that the opponent's sword chi was still there, and it was so sharp. Could it be that his fire demon's palm had lost its effect? Damn it, how is this possible? The fire demon's expression was very ugly, but now was not the time for him to think too much. This was because the sword chi was still slashing towards him. Clang, 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 bang. Even though the fire demon was extremely powerful, and his fire demon's palm was unparalleled in the world, he still could not fight back against the sword chi. His fire demon's palm was extremely red, and when it collided with the sword chi, there was a sonorous vibration. The entire void trembled rapidly as if it was a painting that kept rolling. This scene stunned everyone. They had never imagined that the fire demon would actually fail. One should know that the fire demon's palm was extremely terrifying and could melt everything. But now, it could not shatter the bright sword chi. Buzz! Suddenly, thousands of sword lights flashed in the sky and quickly merged to form a shocking azure dragon that roared in all directions. Finally, a dragon-shaped sword chi spiraled in the void and rushed forward. Oh no! The fire demon's expression changed drastically when he sensed the sword chi. This was because the dragon-shaped sword chi was so terrifying that it made him shudder. He knew that this sword chi could still pose a threat to him. Therefore, he did not hesitate and quickly retreated. However, the dragon-shaped sword chi was too terrifying. It was dazzling and carried a monstrous, murderous aura. It quickly descended and enveloped him. Chapter 1541. The dragon-shaped sword chi was too terrifying. It was dazzling and carried a monstrous killing intent. It quickly descended and enveloped him. Get lost! Fire Fiend roared angrily. A red domain appeared beside him and quickly formed a huge shield. At the same time he waved his hands, and the Fire Fiend palms shot into the sky. The palms were bright red and had mysterious patterns on them. They emitted a monstrous aura and slammed into the dragon-shaped sword chi. In the next moment, a shocking explosion occurred, causing the entire sky to tremble. Endless waves of air surged, drowning everything. However, the dragon-shaped sword chi was too powerful. It sent the Fire Fiend palms flying and cut through Fire Fiend's domain. It slashed Fire Fiend's body. Bang! Fire Fiend was sent flying and crashed into the ground, forming a terrifying crater. Barf! He struggled to get up and spat out a mouthful of blood. His hair was disheveled, and he was in a sorry state. There was a deep sword wound on his body that had almost cut him in half. Looking at this scene, everyone was stunned. They simply could not believe that Fire Demon had actually been defeated and even suffered such heavy injuries. That was Fire Fiend. He was ranked third among the third prince's subordinates. Dong Qianshan and Blood Monk could not compare to him at all. It could be said that he was a true powerhouse. But now he had been defeated. He had been struck by the sword chi. Until now, they had not even seen the other party's figure. At that moment, everyone was stunned. Among them, the third prince's face was terrifyingly gloomy. He had never thought that the outcome would be like this. The first prince's eyes also flickered. That was because a mysterious powerhouse had appeared out of thin air. It was very disadvantageous to them. However, the first prince was happy to see the third prince's ferocious expression. On the other side, Princess Kaidai heaved a sigh of relief. To be honest, that scene had indeed exceeded her expectations. She had never thought that the other party would be able to defeat Fire Fiend. That was a pleasant surprise. Ha 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 ha, brother, that's a good move. However, with your skills, it's a pity for you to stay under Kaidai. Are you interested in joining my side? Don't worry, I'll definitely give you the best treatment. The first prince said with a smile. Hearing this, Princess Kaidai's face sank. She had never thought that the crown prince would try to poach her in public. At the same time, she was extremely nervous because she could not guarantee whether the other party would agree or not. After all, the first prince's status and strength both surpassed hers. However, Lin Xian shook his head. There's no need for that. I'm not anyone's subordinate, and I won't go over to your side. I'm only taking action this time to make an exchange with someone else. Besides this, I also want to see what the strongest battle strength of the Great Xian Empire's younger generation is like. As he finished speaking, his voice was filled with boundless killing intent. It was extremely sharp, and it shook space to the point terrifying cracks appeared. Indeed, Lin Xian had no interest in the fights between the princes and princesses. The reason why he acted was only because he had made a deal with Chuyu. He helped Princess Kaidai, and Chuyu helped him enter the Dawn Zone. That was all. But now he had another idea, and that was to battle with the strongest of the younger generation of the Great Xian Empire. When the surrounding warriors heard this, they were all extremely shocked. You want to battle with the strongest genius of the Great Xian Empire? You're too arrogant. Kid, I'll take you down. Get out here and die. Furious roars rang out one after another. Most of them were from the third prince's subordinates. They were naturally the ones who had lost face after the fire demon's defeat. So now they were gnashing their teeth, wishing that they could capture the other party on the spot and kill him. I'm only speaking the truth. If you're not convinced, then feel free to attack. However, you have no chance of winning. Lin Xian spoke once more. You're courting death. Shameless boasting. Immediately, several warriors charged into the sky. Although they did not know where Lin Xian was, there were still several sword lights floating in the sky. As long as they shattered those sword lights, the other party would naturally appear. However, they soon regretted it, because the sword chi in the sky had transformed into mountains that pressed down on them. Too terrifying. Like an ancient demonic mountain, it was incomparably heavy. In an instant, those warriors were all sent flying. Boom, boom, boom. Those people came quickly, but they were even faster when they were sent flying. And at this time, Lin Xian's voice sounded once more. Trash don't come. It's better for the strongest to come out and fight. Hearing this, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. This was too arrogant to actually directly challenge the strongest. Princess Katie's side was even more shocked. They had never thought that this mysterious person was actually so powerful. However, Princess Kaidai revealed a smile like a fresh flower blooming. She did not care about the other party's attitude, as long as the other party's strength was formidable and could defeat the warriors under the third prince and eldest prince. That way, he would have the qualifications to enter the first tier. This was something she had dreamed of. Now, it was actually really going to be realized. But the third prince and eldest prince furrowed their brows. The other party's arrogant attitude made them extremely displeased. Especially the third prince. A hint of icy killing intent even surfaced in his eyes. The other party's actions were undoubtedly slapping his face. What he had to do now was to kill the other party to relieve the hatred in his heart. However, in this current situation, he would not make a move. He could only send the warriors under him to fight. So he looked to the side. There sat a youth in white clothes, his eyes tightly closed, as if in meditation. He was really too quiet, incompatible with the surrounding environment. At this moment, that youth in white clothes felt the third prince's gaze and immediately opened his eyes. His starry eyes were incomparably deep, as if carrying a magical power. In this current situation, I can only ask you to make a move. The third prince said softly. The third prince's attitude was very low. At least, he did not treat the other party as a subordinate. Okay. The youth in white clothes nodded, then slowly stood up. Following his movements, a powerful aura was emitted from his body, spreading out in all directions. The expressions of the surrounding experts all changed. Although they were also experts and were usually arrogant and proud, in front of this youth in white clothes, they were as obedient as kittens, because no one dared to behave atrociously in front of this youth in white clothes. Not only were the warriors on the third prince's side shocked. At this moment, everyone in the entire Misty Wave Mountain Villa held their breaths, because they knew that Jian Nantian was about to make a move. Jian Nantian could be said to be known by everyone in the empire of Dexian, because he was too dazzling. At the age of 25, his cultivation had reached the middle stage of the 3-star king realm, and his strength was incomparably terrifying. Countless figures of the older generation were not his match. He was like a dazzling star that everyone could only look up to. And now he was about to make a move. Chapter 1542. Jian Nantian's figure fluttered like a bolt of white lightning as he arrived high in the sky. But at that moment, another figure quickly flew over. Jian Nantian frowned when he saw this figure. The others were shocked once more. Han Li. That's right, this figure was Han Li. He was a peerless genius on par with Jian Nantian. However, Jian Nantian was the #1 expert under the third prince, while Han Li was the #1 expert under the first prince. No one expected that even he would make a move. Could it be that the mysterious person was truly so powerful? You want to make a move? Jian Nantian asked with a frown. Of course. Didn't you hear? He's challenging the strongest genius. Of course he's talking about me. It was clear that Han Li was the strongest genius and Jian Nantian wasn't. What do you mean? Are you saying that I'm inferior to you? Jian Nantian's voice was ice cold as he emitted a powerful aura. Of course you're inferior to me. Han Li sneered, and his body also emitted a biting cold aura. The two auras collided in the air with a thunderous sound that shook the void. This kind of collision was too terrifying. Just the shock waves alone sent many people flying. Everyone hurriedly retreated and looked at the sky nervously. Could it be that these two were going to fight ahead of time? Indeed, the two were extremely famous, and their strength was comparable. They could be said to be a pair of peerless geniuses. However, they had both won and lost in their battles. They hadn't truly shown who was more powerful. Thus, when they heard that Lin Xian was going to challenge the strongest person, both of them stepped forward to challenge him. But now it seemed that the two of them would likely fight ahead of time to determine the victor. Everyone was looking forward to it. But at that moment, Lin Xian's voice sounded out once more. No need to be so troublesome. You two can come one at a time. Neither of you can escape. His voice was calm, but it carried an unquestionable, domineering aura. One at a time? Neither of you can escape? Do you think they're cabbages? They're peerless geniuses. Everyone felt their scalps go numb. In the sky, Jian Nantian and Han Li were also stunned. What an arrogant fellow! Jian Nantian frowned. Han Li looked up to the sky and laughed. Good, of course, of course. Brat, it's been a long time since you dared to speak to me like that. I want to see what ability you have. He snorted coldly and was about to attack. However, this time, Jian Nantian stopped him. I came out first, so naturally I should make the first move. Humph, you dare to stop me? Han Li was enraged, and his aura suddenly erupted, instantly enveloping the surrounding area like a torrential flood. Then he clenched his fist and punched out. In an instant, all the sword rays in the sky exploded. Brat, get out here. This voice contained a biting, cold-killing intent that immediately caused many people's ears to bleed and their bodies to tremble. Since you want to be the first to die, I'll fulfill your wish, Lin Xian said in a deep voice. Then, with a flash, he appeared in the sky. What? It has appeared. At that moment, everyone raised their heads to look at the sky. Their expressions were filled with shock. They did not expect that the mysterious man would finally appear. Hee, brother, I knew you were here. Fatty Luo looked at the sky and grinned. What? It's really him. Zhou Tian, Han Kuan, Jade Beauty, Bai Yuran, and the others looked at the figure in shock. They did not expect that the mysterious man was the young man they had met at the Fengyue brothel. Zhou Tian's heart was beating wildly. He was extremely shocked. At that time, he had recklessly attacked the other party. He did not expect the other party to be so powerful. Fortunately, the other party did not kill her at that time. Otherwise, she would have been dead. As for Jade Beauty and Bai Yuran, their faces were flushed and their eyes were filled with adoration. On the other side, Chu Yu also heaved a sigh of relief. She slowly said, Princess, it's him. It's him? Princess Kaidai looked at the figure in the sky with a shocked expression. To be honest, she was too shocked. She did not expect that Chu Yu would help her find such a powerful martial artist, who could even contend with Jiang Nantian and Han Li. The third prince, the eldest prince, and the surrounding experts all looked at the sky with grave expressions. At that moment, Lin Xian became the center of attention. Jiang Nantian and Han Li also stared at Lin Xian. Among them, Han Li coldly asked, You are the mysterious man who attacked before. That's right, it's me. Lin Xian stood with his hands behind his back. Humph, it seems that's all there is to it. Let me see what qualifications you have to be so arrogant. With that said, Han Li clenched his fist again and punched. This punch was extremely terrifying. It was as if a mountain was trembling in the air. It directly shattered the void and arrived in front of Lin Xian. Clang! Lin Xian also clenched his fist and punched out to meet Han Li's attack. Suddenly, the two fists collided with a heaven-shaking sound. Terrifying cracks spread in all directions. The two did not use any divine abilities. It was a pure contest of strength. This attack was evenly matched. Everyone was shocked. They did not expect that the mysterious youth would be able to contend against Han Li. Han Li was also surprised. Good. I didn't expect you to have some strength. Try and take another punch from me. With that said, he punched out again. At the side, Jiang Nantian saw this scene and shook his head with a sigh. He knew that once Han Li attacked, it was impossible for him to stop unless victory was decided. But he did not want to take advantage of Han Li's precarious situation and fight two against one. His figure blurred and he came down again. Suddenly, only Han Li and Lin Xian were left in the sky. Lin Xian let out a long roar and his body flickered with light. Countless strands of sword qi burst out from his body and soared into the sky. At that moment, he was like a powerful sword god floating in the sky. Kill! He formed an incantation gesture with his hand and pushed it forward. Suddenly, a huge Cheong Qi appeared in the sky and roared as it charged forward. Boom! The two exchanged blows, shaking heaven and earth. It was as if two gods were fighting. Terrifying auras spread out in all directions. Fortunately, the Misty Wave Mountain Villa was an ancient ruin and had powerful defensive formations. Otherwise, it would have been razed to the ground. Han Li used a mid-grade, earth-tier martial art, the Heavenly Wind Fist. It was extremely powerful. As for Lin Xian, he used the 9 heavens transformations. One demon beast after another flew out from his fingers to meet Han Li's attack. These were 2 supreme techniques. They were extremely terrifying and caused the surrounding space to explode. After several tens of exchanges, Han Li suddenly let out a long roar. I thought you had some strength, but it seems you're only SOSO. Since that's the case, let's end this battle. Die. He sneered and waved his hand. Suddenly, countless streaks of purple light soared into the sky and quickly covered it. Purple devil purgatory, seal all directions. With a furious roar, purple light quickly surged and sealed the entire space. Chapter 1543. A huge purple vortex appeared in the sky. Terrifying energy roared like a myriad of beasts, shocking everyone. Lin Xian, on the other hand, was surrounded by countless purple lights and sealed in a special space. The space was translucent, allowing everyone to clearly see what was happening inside. Countless streaks of purple energy roared like furious dragons and quickly blasted towards Lin Xian, wanting to blast him apart. Not good. This is the purple devil purgatory, one of Han Li's consummate abilities. That's right. I heard that he used this purple devil purgatory to kill many peerless geniuses. Even the older generation couldn't break it. It's over. I fear that Lin Xian won't be able to break it either. The scene in the sky caused everyone's expression to change, especially Jade Beauty by Yuran and the others below. They looked anxious. Although they weren't cultivators of the great Xian Empire, they had heard of the purple devil purgatory. It was easy to imagine how terrifying this ability was. On the other side, Princess Kai-Dai, Chuyu, and the others wore grave expressions. They didn't expect that Han Li would be able to use such a terrifying martial art so quickly. Jiang Nan Tian's eyes flickered. He had fought with Han Li many times and naturally knew how terrifying the purple devil purgatory was. Apart from him, very few people were able to escape. I wonder if he will be able to escape, or will it end here? The Crown Prince and the others all laughed. Ha 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 ha, what mysterious expert. He has no chance of victory against Han Li, that's right. Although that brat is quite skilled, he can't contend against a top genius like Han Li. This battle is over. Many people sneered. They believed that Lin Xian had no hope of escaping. In the sky, the purple devil purgatory, a purple, translucent space, floated in the air. Violent energy surged within it, and Lin Xian was the first to bear the brunt of it. However, Lin Xian didn't appear to be anxious. He appeared to be quite calm. In the next moment, his eyes focused, and he coldly shouted. Soon after, he clenched his hand and grabbed at the air. Suddenly, a black devil sword quickly appeared. This sword was completely black and had demonic patterns on it. It emitted a mysterious and terrifying aura. 9 Hell Devil Sword. With a slash of the sword light soared into the sky. The entire demonic sword emitted an incomparably terrifying energy. Boom! In the next moment, the black sword radiance flashed and slashed violently on the purple demon purgatory. Immediately, a cracking sound was heard. The entire void began to tremble violently. Pum! In the next moment, an astonishing explosion was heard. The terrifying purple demon purgatory was actually split into 2 by the sword strike. Lin Xian, on the other hand, turned into a beam of light and dashed out at high speed. What? It was broken. How is this possible? Everyone was shocked, not daring to believe this. The experts on the first prince's side opened their mouths wide and their minds went blank. That was the purple devil purgatory, an extremely powerful secret technique that Han Li possessed. In the past, many genius martial artists and even older generation figures had fallen under this move. But now, it was actually split apart by a sword. Even Han Li's pupils abruptly contracted and he wore an expression of extreme shock. He refused to believe that his opponent would be able to breach his purple demon purgatory so easily. Damn it, how is this possible? How did he do it? However, the only answer he received was a shocking sword radiance. The black 9 darkness devil sword was like a black mountain. It was incomparably terrifying as it ruthlessly smashed towards Han Li. Pung! In the next moment, Han Li was forced back. What? He was forced back. Everyone cried out in alarm, not daring to believe their eyes. The incomparably powerful Han Li had actually been forced back? This was truly too shocking. At this moment, everyone in the Misty Wave Mountain Manor was extremely shocked. Ah, brat, I'm going to kill you. After being forced back by a single sword strike, Han Li was incomparably crazed. He hadn't anticipated that his opponent would be so powerful. So he had been careless and had been forced back. This was intolerable. At this moment, he was completely enraged. Han Li floated in the air and stopped his retreat. His purple robes quickly fluttered and he emitted an incomparably terrifying aura. That pair of ice-cold eyes had turned into a purple light. There were also mysterious talisman characters flickering around him. His gaze was as sharp as a sword, directly piercing through space. Those familiar with him knew that at this moment, Han Li was truly enraged. Many of the cultivators on the eldest princes sighed, felt their hearts wildly pound. It's over. It's been a long time since I've seen Han Li like this. The last time I saw him like this was during his battle with Jiang Nantian. That's right. When Han Li goes berserk, no one can stop him. Only Jiang Nantian could resist him. Apart from him, no one else had any chance of survival. When the eldest prince saw this, he let out a sigh. Previously, he had wanted Han Li to subdue him and take him in as a subordinate. But now, it seemed that this was impossible. This was because once Han Li went berserk, his opponent would definitely die. The spectating cultivators were also shocked. At this moment, Han Li was like a fiend god. They didn't dare to look directly at him. Bright monarch palm. In the sky, Han Li furiously roared and struck out with his palm. Suddenly, the sky boiled. A gigantic purple palm was formed rapidly. Like a tidal wave, it swept towards Lin Xian at high speed. Lin Xian's gaze was also resolute. He grasped the 9 darkness devil sword and slashed out. Suddenly, a terrifying sword light rushed forward. The 9 darkness devil sword was incomparably mysterious. He too even guessed that this devil sword might have come from the terrifying forbidden land of life, the underworld. One could imagine how terrifying this devil sword was. Its grade wouldn't be lower than an earth-grade treasure. Now that it was in Lin Xian's hands, it was incomparably powerful. Lin Xian's great dragon sword soul possessed fearsome, offensive power. Although he was only a 1-star king, his battle prowess wasn't inferior to any 3-star king. Thus, this sword strike was extremely powerful. Pung! The black sword light and the purple palm collided, creating a resounding clang. The entire space boiled. What? He blocked it again. Seeing that the bright monarch palm was useless, Han Li's expression turned gloomy. He didn't think that his opponent would be this powerful. However, he furiously roared and decided to attack with all his strength. Bright monarch palm! Han Li furiously roared and his body shined with purple light. In an instant, countless mysterious talisman characters revolved around his body. Mysterious, illusory figures appeared on his body. They were incomparably terrifying. In the next moment, his figure blurred and quickly charged towards Lin Xian like purple lightning. Lin Xian's expression didn't change as he waved the 9 darkness devil sword in his hand, the power of 4,000 swords. At this moment, he used the myriad sword art and wielded the power of 4,000 swords. Suddenly, the wind and clouds above changed, for streaks of black lightning quickly formed. Each of the 4 streaks of lightning contained the power of 1,000 swords. It was incomparably terrifying. In addition to the sharpness of the great dragon sword soul, it could be said that the power was beyond imagination. Chapter 1544. Rumble. The black thunderbolt was like a sword radiance, but it was also like a huge mountain. It quickly descended from the sky and shattered the entire void. In an instant, the sky had become a sea of black lightning. The entire void was submerged, and Han bore the brunt of the endless sea of lightning. What a terrifying scene! When the crowd saw this, their expressions wildly changed. The reason for that was because they were able to clearly sense the berserk power brought forth by the lightning. It was simply too terrifying. When they encountered such power, they had no power to resist at all. Even Jiang Nantian wore a grave expression, and his gaze wavered. Ah! Within the sea of lightning, Han Li roared towards the sky as his body flickered with purple light. However, his resistance was futile. This lightning was the result of the myriad sword art combined with the power of the great dragon sword soul. It was incomparably powerful. In an instant, the 4 purple devilish shadows he summoned were shattered by the sea of lightning. Not only that, but his body was also struck. When the black lightning struck his body, his chi and blood roiled, and he couldn't stand steadily. However, as a peerless genius, he was powerful. He quickly summoned a purple armor that covered his body to resist the black lightning that filled the sky. However, he was still blasted back continuously. Not only was he forced back, but his chi and blood roiled as he coughed up a mouthful of blood. In this exchange, he had suffered yet another loss. When the surrounding cultivators saw this, their expressions greatly changed. They didn't dare to believe their eyes. This was Han Li. He was the most dazzling genius of the great Xian Empire's younger generation. But now, he had been beaten to the point of spitting blood. Just how powerful was that youth called Lin Xian? They didn't dare to imagine. At this moment, even Princess Kai Dai, the first prince, the third prince, and the others had extremely grave expressions. Jiang Nantian suddenly stood up and stared at the sky with a frightening glint in his eyes. He had fought with Han Li many times and was well aware of his opponent's strength. Even he wouldn't be able to injure him so easily. Han Li's body trembled with anger. His opponent's strength had shocked him greatly, but he couldn't accept that he had been injured. Therefore, in the next moment, he roared angrily again and performed a powerful divine ability martial art. Akala. Han Li incessantly waved his hands, causing the purple light on his body to become even more dazzling. A purple figure formed behind him, exuding a mysterious power. Kill! In the next moment, he let out a furious roar and charged towards Lin Xian. This time he was truly enraged. He was determined to kill Lin Xian. 3 heads and 6 arms. Arriving in front of Lin Xian, Han Li shouted once more. Suddenly, the purple silhouette took a step forward and fused with him. Instantly, 2 more heads and 4 more arms appeared on both sides of him. He looked extremely strange. With 3 heads and 6 arms, there were no blind spots at all. Furthermore, the 2 arms that were formed were holding sabers, swords, and spears. At that moment, Han Li's aura had reached its peak. Lin Xian, on the other hand, waved the 9 Serenities devil sword. One after another, peerless demonic beasts flew out from the tip of his sword. The Qiangqi, the heavenly Pang, the Dijiang, the Zhuyan, and the 9 Yin were all ancient divine beasts. Although they were formed from spiritual power, they were extremely powerful as if they were real divine beasts. Pung pung pung. The 2 forces collided in the air, erupting with resplendent radiance. The sky boiled as a vast amount of energy surged into the distance. After several tens of moves, Lin Xian suddenly pointed with his left hand. 3 void, shattering fingers quickly flew out in an extremely strange manner. Puff, puff. Dang. The void-shattering fingers were traceless and capable of destroying everything. Now that Lin Xian had used them, they were even more unfathomable. Two of the void-shattering fingers pierced through the two purple silhouettes beside Han Li. As for the third, Han Li's true body dodged it. But even so, it had achieved an extraordinary result. This was because it had broken through Han Li's aquila body. The 3 heads and 6 arms quickly disappeared. Han Li's face was pale. This was because his divine ability had been broken, and he had also suffered a certain amount of backlash. What? It was broken again? Everyone felt their scalps go numb. They didn't dare to believe this. From the beginning of the battle until now, Han Li had been suppressed by his opponent. Every time he used a powerful divine ability, it was quickly broken through by his opponent. It was as if his opponent had a natural advantage over him. They knew that if this happened once, it could be due to luck. But if it happened multiple times, it couldn't be explained by luck. This meant that his opponent was incomparably powerful. It was even possible that his battle prowess surpassed Han Li's. With that thought, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air. At that moment, Lin Xian coldly said, "You've already lost. Let's switch." Everyone fell silent. Indeed, Han Li had been sent flying 3 times. This meant that his opponent was extremely powerful. However, they couldn't accept this reality. As for Han Li, he couldn't accept it. He angrily roared, "Don't be so arrogant. I was careless and didn't use my king's domain. Brat, my true techniques are all in my king's domain. Now, I will kill you with my own hands." With that said, he angrily roared. His eyes blossomed with incomparably resplendent light. They were like 2 streaks of light that tore through the sky. "Behold my king's domain, death's door." Along with this voice, purple light quickly flashed from Han Li's body. A purple domain instantly enveloped him. Within the purple domain, purple chi roiled. It was incomparably mysterious. A 10-meter-tall purple gate appeared out of thin air. It floated in the air. The gate was engraved with mysterious vein patterns that emitted an ancient aura. Death's door. When everyone saw this, they all sucked in a breath of cold air. As for the third prince, the eldest prince, and Princess Kai Dai, they all stood up. Their expressions were filled with shock. That's right. Han Li's king's domain was the death's door. However, he was normally very powerful and rarely used his king's domain in battle. As a result, they rarely saw it. They didn't expect that they would see it in battle today. The Death's Door was one of the most powerful king's domains in the Grand Xian Empire. Princess Kai Dai's expression was grave. She knew that things were troublesome because she was well aware of how terrifying the Death's Door was. The Death's Door was created by a cultivation art. It was extremely famous in the Grand Xian Empire. However, it was extremely difficult to cultivate. In the past several thousand years, only 3 or 4 people had successfully cultivated it. Han Li was one of them. On the other side, the third prince frowned. His subordinate, Jiang Nantian, was extremely powerful. However, he was unable to completely defeat Han Li because of the Death's Door. The eldest prince smiled. Since he used the Death's Door, that brat won't be able to win. It's a pity. I didn't think that brat would be able to force Han Li to this extent. It is truly rare. Chapter 1545. The Gate of Death was extremely terrifying. It was said that when the gate opened, no one would be able to survive. No one knew what was behind the Gate of Death. However, some said that it could be connected to the underworld or hell. Regardless, there was no doubt that the Gate of Death was extremely frightening. Han Li stood near the Gate of Death with an indifferent expression. "Brat, you should be proud of yourself for forcing me to use this move. However, since you've angered me, you won't be able to survive. Now go to hell." With that said, he waved his hand and spoke in a deep voice. Death sound wave. Following Han Li's voice, the purple gate of death blossomed with light. Purple devilish patterns appeared on its surface. The purple demonic runes vibrated rapidly, forming waves of death waves that spread out rapidly. These sound waves were too terrifying. They were tangible and specialized in harming one's soul. It was extremely strange and impossible to guard against. There were a few unlucky ones in the crowd that were swept by the sound waves and fell to the ground. They weren't injured, but their auras had been completely extinguished. How terrifying! When the others saw this, they retreated in fright, their scalps tingling. Fortunately, the majority of the sound waves were wildly sweeping towards Lin Xian. Damn it, this is a soul attack. That brat Lin definitely won't be able to withstand it. Of course. That brat's battle prowess is already so great. His soul power can't possibly be that outstanding. After all, a person's energy is limited. He can't take on everything. It seems he's finished this time. That's right. I didn't expect Han Li to be so powerful. His gate of death released a soul-destroying wave of death. I fear that not many people can withstand such an attack. As the crowd discussed this, they nervously looked towards the sky. In the sky, Lin Xian wore a grave expression. Ever since he had come out of the gate of death, he had felt his hair stand on end. Han Li's king's domain was truly too strange. He had never seen it before. However, he possessed the great dragon sword soul. Even in this strange domain, he didn't fear it. Thus, when he saw the other party unleashing the death sound wave that specialized in destroying souls, he immediately harumphed coldly. Others might not have so much energy to cultivate both combat strength and soul force at the same time, but he was different. Previously, after cultivating the sky spill visualization diagram, his soul power had become extremely strong. He was definitely not inferior to a 3-star king. Moreover, the great dragon sword spirit was an offensive saint spell between heaven and earth that could destroy everything. This kind of strength was not only reflected in battle, but also in soul force. It was even enough to destroy those illusory things. Therefore, although this death sound wave was terrifying, and to the majority of martial artists, it was a sure-kill divine ability ultimate skill. However, it had no effect on him. Dragon King, roar! In the next moment, Lin Xian let out a cold shout. His soul force coordinated with the great dragon sword soul and quickly released a sound wave attack. Roar! This sound wave was extremely terrifying. The Buddha true dragon roared, its voice shaking the heavens and earth. Boom! The Dragon King's roar collided directly with the death sound wave, producing a violent collision sound. It was as if swords and sabers had clashed against each other, causing countless black cracks to appear in the void. Explode! 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 The sky exploded with a bang, and flickering black holes appeared one after another. Fortunately, they were fighting in the sky. Otherwise, the entire Misty Wave Mountain Manor would have been affected even with the defensive formation. What? He blocked it. That's impossible. Han Li's expression greatly changed. He didn't dare to imagine that his opponent was actually able to block his death sound wave. One had to know that his death sound wave wasn't an ordinary sound wave. Ordinary sound waves only cause damage to the body. However, his death sound wave not only caused damage to the body, it also attacked one's soul power. This kind of combined damage was the most terrifying. Ordinary martial artists were completely unable to defend against it. Only if they had a treasure of the soul, Tao, would they be lucky enough to survive. Jiang Nantian had such a treasure in his hands, which was why he was able to fight him to a draw. As for the others, none of them were a match for him. But now his opponent had also used a sound wave martial art to block his death sound wave. This greatly surprised him. The others were even more shocked and didn't dare to believe it. They originally thought that Lin Xian was dead for sure. No one could resist this sound wave. However, The current situation was beyond their expectations. The other party used a roar to directly block the death sound wave. That terrifying sound even caused their auras to surge and their bodies to almost split apart. Damn it, what kind of martial art is this? It's actually so terrifying. No way. How can his soul power be so strong? F***CK. Where did this kid appear from? Why is he like a freak? Isn't this combat strength too terrifying? Exclamations sounded one after another. As for Princess Kaidai, Chuyu, Jade Beauty by Yuran, and the others, they all heaved a sigh of relief. The fact that Lin Xian was fine was undoubtedly the best news for them. Buzz buzz! The two sound waves collided and finally disappeared at the same time. The crack in the sky also quickly recovered. However, Han Li's expression was extremely ugly. Previously, he had vowed that the other party was dead for sure. But now the other party actually broke through his death sound wave. This was intolerable. Since you're done attacking, it's my turn to attack, Lin Xian said coldly. Then he waved his hand and the dragon sword domain suddenly appeared beside him. Myriad sword art, myriad sword heavenly attraction. Lin Xian once again used the myriad sword art. The dragon's sword domain trembled and countless sword chi quickly surged like sword spirits. Then it soared into the sky. Suddenly, multicolored light filled the sky and sword chi crisscrossed. The entire sky was completely filled with ruthless sword light. These sword chi were incomparably fast, and all of them blasted on the door of death, erupting into a shocking explosion. Pung pung! This attack was incomparably powerful and immediately caused the purple door of death to tremble. Even the light above it became dim. Damn it! Seeing that his door of death was damaged, Han Li's face also turned pale. He roared crazily, and his palms quickly changed seals. Door of death, death ray! Buzz! Caw-caw! Suddenly, the purple door of death shone again. After that, the tightly shut door slowly opened, emitting kacha sounds. An incomparably terrifying aura was emitted from the crack in the door. That aura was too terrifying and made people feel despair. The previous death sound wave was only emitted from the door. The door did not open, and now the purple door of death had opened. What kind of incomparably terrifying energy would it display? No one dared to imagine. However, they knew that the next attack would definitely be more terrifying than the death storm. Chapter 1546. Death Ray. Along with Han Li's voice, a purple ray of light quickly condensed in the crack of the door and blasted forward. Boom! A purple ray of light instantly tore through the sky like a furious dragon. Wherever it passed, the sky was quickly shattered. What? Everyone felt their scalps go numb and their expressions were filled with horror. This attack was far too terrifying. It was capable of instantly killing any 3-star monarch. They didn't think that the death ray would possess such terrifying power. Even Lin Xian's pupils shrank abruptly. The purple death ray was extremely sharp and quickly arrived in front of Lin Xian. Lin Xian let out a low shout and activated the dragon sword domain. The dragon's sword domain immediately trembled, and countless strands of sword chi quickly condensed into 2 wings that quickly enveloped Lin Xian. The 2 wings were completely formed from sword chi, and when they closed, they covered the sky and protected Lin Xian. Boom! In the next moment, the death ray collided with the sword chi wings and violently clashed. Clouds and mist surged, and waves of chi surged. It was as if 2 mountains had collided in the sky, creating a deafening sound. The death ray was extremely terrifying and could kill a 3-star monarch. However, when it collided with the 2 sword chi wings, it lost its effect. Although the entire space shook violently, the death ray wasn't able to break through the 2 azure wings. What? How is this possible? Looking at the scene in front of him, Han Li widened his eyes in disbelief. That was the death ray that he was so proud of. It could kill any 3-star monarch. But now, it was unable to break through his opponent's defenses. This was simply too unbelievable. Crack! The huge sword chi wings unfurled and slowly opened, revealing the situation inside. Lin Xian's clothes fluttered in the wind, and his expression was calm. He hadn't suffered any injuries. In the next moment, his gaze focused, and his body released a terrifying aura. Then he soared into the sky with the dragon, sword domain, and charged forward. What? When Han Li saw this, his pupils contracted and a sense of fear welled up in his heart. However, he still summoned up his courage and roared, "Doors of death, open completely for me." As his voice fell, the spiritual energy in his body burned fiercely, and a terrifying energy ran through his body. Because with his current cultivation and strength, he was still unable to completely open the door of death. However, at this moment, he was burning his spiritual energy to stimulate his body's potential. He wanted to open the door of death ahead of time to kill his opponent. The gate of death was incomparably terrifying. It was his strongest move. At this moment, he was willing to use all of his strength to open the gate of death. Ka-ka-ka! Boom! 2 deep sounds rang out, and the door of death slowly opened, revealing a pitch-black darkness. No one knew where the door led to, but the energy emitted from it was too terrifying. Even those of the older generation had expressions of despair on their faces. Die. Han Li burned every inch of power within his body, and his entire body erupted with dazzling light. The gates of death were fully opened, emitting a terrifying suction force that instantly enveloped Lin Xian. Then, the devouring power pulled Lin Xian into the door of death. Whoosh! Lin Xian's figure entered the door of death and disappeared. The entire sky regained its clarity once again. It was quiet without a trace of sound. What's going on? What happened? Everyone's eyes widened. That Lin Xian was sucked into the door of death. He really went in. This is the first time I've seen such a strange situation. Everyone was shocked and didn't dare to believe it. Even Princess Kai Dai, the third prince, and the others frowned. Han Li faced the sky and laughed. Ha 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 ha, brat, no matter how strong you are, you won't be able to come out after entering the door of death. From today onwards, you can go to hell for me. His voice was filled with arrogance and pride. In his opinion, Lin Xian was an extremely powerful enemy. But so what if he was powerful? Wasn't he still killed by him? What? Entering the door of death is the same as entering hell. That brat won't be able to come back. Rumor has it that the door of death is connected to an incomparably mysterious world. Now it seems that it is true. Everyone was discussing spiritedly. They knew that the battle was over. Lin Xian had entered the door of death and wouldn't be able to come out. Seeing this scene, Han Kuan, the Fire Cloud Nation youth, and the other martial artists all sighed. As for Jade Beauty by Yuran and the others, their faces were pale. Princess Kai Dai also sighed, and her eyes seemed to have lost their luster. She was indeed quite sad because Lin Xian's strength could have pushed her to the first tier. But now that he had entered the incomparably mysterious door of death, it was likely that he wouldn't be able to come out in this lifetime. At the side, Jiang Nanshan's expression was solemn as he whispered to himself, "Is it over?" He's still lost. It seems that the door of death is indeed incomparably strange. In the sky, Han Li laughed wildly once again. Then he swept his gaze and stared at Jiang Nantian as he coldly shouted, "Jiang Nantian, come up. I'm going to finish you off together." This voice was filled with endless, domineering aura. When the surrounding people heard this, their scalps went numb. What? He still wants to fight? This Han Li is too powerful. He just fought the powerful Lin Xian, and now he wants to fight Jiang Nantian? When Jiang Nantian heard this, he slightly shook his head. No, you just finished a great battle and must have consumed a lot of energy. Why don't we wait for you to recover before we fight? He decisively refused. In the sky, Hanli tightly frowned, because he had previously completely opened the door of death. He had burned a lot of spiritual power, so he wanted to take advantage of this power to quickly finish off Jiang Nantian. But he didn't expect that Jiang Nantian wouldn't be fooled and wouldn't fight him. This caused him to feel anxious, because when the power he activated disappeared, he feared that he would enter a period of weakness for a period of time. When that time came, he would be no match for Jiang Nantian. Humph! What? You don't dare to fight? Could it be that you're afraid? Hanli sneered. It doesn't matter. As long as you say that you've lost to me, I won't fight you. However, Jiang Nantian still slightly shook his head. I'm not afraid of you. I just don't want to take advantage of you. Let's fight later. As an expert, he naturally saw Han Li's current state at a glance. If he went up to fight now, he would undoubtedly be courting death. He wasn't that foolish. Han Li coldly laughed. It's not up to you to decide. With that said, his figure blurred and he quickly charged towards Jiang Nantian. Regardless of whether Jiang Nantian was willing or not, he was going to suck him into the door of death. That way, no one would be his match. Chapter 1547. Regardless of whether Jiang Nantian was willing or not, he was going to suck him into the door of death. That way, no one would be his match. Everyone was shocked by this scene and couldn't understand. However, they soon came to a realization. They discovered that the door of death in the sky was slowly closing. That terrifying aura was also gradually weakening. It seemed that the time for Han Li to activate the energy was up. Han Li naturally knew this, so he couldn't help but speed up. But in the next moment, he was stunned. That was because the door of death behind him had stopped closing halfway. There was a large expanse of pitch-black darkness in the crack of the door, but in the boundless darkness, a deep sound could be heard. Boom! 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 The sound was very deep, as if someone was beating a drum. What is that sound? Where is it coming from? Could it be that someone is still fighting? Everyone was puzzled. When Han Li looked behind him, his expression greatly changed. Not good. His expression became very unsightly because he discovered that the sound was coming from the door of death. But why was there movement coming from the door of death? This kind of abnormal change had never happened before. Could it be that brat? Han Li was bewildered, but apart from this, he had no other explanation. Furthermore, the others seemed to have discovered this scene and began to make guesses. Could it be Lin Xian's movement? It can't be. Didn't they say that the door of death was connected to the netherworld? Once one entered, they would be forever suppressed in hell? How could it come out? But only Lin Xian entered the door of death. If it wasn't him, who else could it be? For a moment, everyone was discussing spiritedly as they carefully looked at the sky. Han Li's gaze was gloomy as he coldly snorted and once again unleashed a terrifying attack on the door of death to seal it. Humph! No matter who you are, you won't be able to break through my door of death. Once you enter, you'll stay there forever. He quickly formed a hand seal and formed a powerful seal on the door of death that emitted a resplendent light. However, the sound of the collision became more and more intense. At first, it sounded like a drum, but now it sounded like thunder exploding in the sky, causing everyone's scalps to feel numb. Boom! Pum! Crack, crack! Finally, the sound became more and more intense. And finally, a black crack appeared in the sky. Pum! The seal on the gate of death instantly shattered. A huge black hole formed above the death's gate. Then a figure flew out quickly. Lin Xian, it's Lin Xian. What? Did that kid really come out? How is this possible? He actually managed to come out of the door of death? Heavens! Is he still human? Everyone cried out in alarm, not daring to believe it. The figure in the sky was Lin Xian. He and his powerful strength had broken through the energy of the door of death and returned to reality. At this moment, the shadow of an azure dragon appeared beneath his feet. Sword Qi flickered on his body. The demonic sword in his hand bloomed with a strange light, and his entire person became extremely sharp. What? It's you! How is that possible? How did you break through my door of death? When Han Li saw him, his expression greatly changed, and his heart was greatly shaken. To tell the truth, he was truly shocked. This was because no one had ever been able to escape from his door of death. Furthermore, he believed that no one had ever been able to escape. But now, someone had truly come out. He didn't dare to believe this scene. In the sky, Lin Xian's gaze was cold. The door of death is truly not bad. It's the most powerful domain I've ever seen. However, it's still unable to trap me. Now the battle is over. With that said, his body blurred and he held the 9 darkness devil sword in his hand. His entire body turned into a streak of resplendent dragon-shaped sword Qi, quickly attacking Han Li. This sword strike was truly terrifying. The sword light was like a sea, instantly illuminating the entire sky. He was like a huge dragon, rampaging through the sky with an extremely tyrannical aura. When he felt this aura, Lin Xian felt his scalp go numb. Without any hesitation, he recalled the door of death and began to defend himself. Suddenly, a mysterious purple gate appeared in front of him, emitting a strange aura. It was as if it was connected to hell. Boom! In the next moment, the two collided. Light erupted and heaven and earth trembled. The door of death was directly shattered, disappearing into the void. As for Han Li, he was sent flying, spitting out a mouthful of blood. It was unknown how many of his bones had been broken. When everyone saw this scene, they were all stupefied. They hadn't expected that the previously incomparably powerful Han Li would actually be defeated. Plop! Han Li's body fiercely fell to the ground, unconscious. The surrounding people all sank into deep shock, unable to speak. After a long while, everyone sucked in a breath of cold air, their eyes filled with shock. The most dazzling of the great Xian Empire's younger generation, Han Li, had actually been defeated. As for Lin Xian's valiance, it caused everyone to be endlessly shocked. This battle wasn't a matter of luck, but a true battle of strength. Han Li was very powerful, able to suppress the younger generation. However, Lin Xian was even more powerful. Even Han Li wasn't a match for him. Ha 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 ha. As expected, he won. I've struck gold this time. Fatty Luo clapped his hands. He had bet on Lin Xian's victory. He would definitely make a fortune. At the side, the gambling youth widened his eyes in disbelief. Damn, this is a truly ferocious person. Fatty Luo, where did you find such a person? His eyes shined as if he had seen a rare treasure. He won, he really won. Han Kuan, the youth from the Fire Cloud Nation, Jade Beauty by Yuran, and the others all widened their eyes in disbelief. On the other side, Princess Kai Dai let out a sigh of relief. A smile appeared on her exquisite face. Chu Yu was also extremely shocked. Then he frowned. Who knew what kind of storm such a person would cause in Danzong? On the other side, the eldest prince's expression was malevolent. He hadn't expected that his strongest subordinate, Han Li, would actually be defeated. He couldn't accept this. Damn it, how is this possible? Who is he? How could he defeat Han Li? The eldest prince raised his head and looked at the sky, his eyes releasing a cold light. Lin Xian, on the other hand, ignored the first prince and looked in another direction. Jiang and Tian, it's your turn. What? He still wants to fight. Hearing this, everyone felt their scalps go numb. They hadn't expected that Lin Xian would face Jiang Nantian so quickly. Immediately, everyone became excited again because they wanted to know if Lin Xian could defeat Jiang Nantian again. Jiang Nantian also took a deep breath, his expression extremely solemn. Clearly, the previous battle had shocked him greatly. Not only that, he realized that even he wouldn't have been able to block the last move. When he heard his opponent's voice, his expression became even more solemn, but in the end sighed, "No need. You've won this battle." Chapter 1548. With that said, his entire body seemed to have lost its luster. As a peerless genius, he had his own pride. But now he discovered that he simply couldn't defeat his opponent. Even if he attacked, he feared that he would suffer the same fate as Hanli. Rather than that, he might as well directly admit defeat. When the surrounding people heard this, their scalps went numb. They didn't dare to believe it. They didn't think that Jiang Nantian would actually directly admit defeat. This was even more shocking than Han Li's defeat. One had to know that Jiang Nantian was a peerless genius. Such a person definitely had stronger self-esteem than ordinary people. But now his opponent had actually taken the initiative to admit defeat. This meant that he had absolutely no confidence in defeating Lin Shui. Perhaps not even the slightest bit. Otherwise, he absolutely wouldn't admit defeat. With that thought, everyone was extremely shocked. Just how powerful was Lin Xian? He had directly caused a genius of the great Xian Empire to admit defeat. This was definitely a once-in-a-lifetime occurrence. All right, since it's like this, I won't make things difficult for you. Lin Xian nodded. Soon after, he restrained his aura and quickly floated down. Since his opponent had admitted defeat, there was no need for him to fight. Furthermore, he had already achieved his goal. Chu Yu should be able to recommend him to enter the Danzong. Lin Xian didn't go to Princess Kai Dai. Instead, he found a quiet place and sat down cross-legged. Next, the competition continued. The martial artists under the various princesses and princes sparred. However, there was no match that was as exciting as Lin Xian and Han Li's dishes. Finally, all the battles ended. Princess Kai Dai got her wish and entered the first echelon. Although the martial Dao assembly had ended and the various princesses and princes had left, the martial artists didn't. This was because there was still a grand banquet waiting for them. Lin Xian stood up and prepared to leave. But at this moment, a beautiful maid quickly arrived in front of him and respectfully said, "Young master, my princess invites you." "Yes." Lin Xian slightly nodded. He naturally knew that this was someone sent by Princess Kai Dai. Therefore, he didn't decline and directly followed the other party. In a hall of the Misty Wave Villa, Princess Kai Dai, Chu Yu, and their subordinates were all gathered together. Everyone's face was filled with excitement, especially Princess Kai Dai, who had a smile hanging on her beautiful face. Soon, they saw the beautiful maidservant bringing Lin Xian in. Immediately, everyone stood up. His subordinates were all nervous. After all, Lin Xian was an even more terrifying genius than Han Li. Being together with such a genius, they couldn't help but feel nervous and restrained. Princess Kai Dai smiled and said, "Lin Gongzi, please sit." "All right." Lin Xian nodded, then sat down boldly. This time, Kai Dai was able to enter the first group. It's all thanks to Lin Gongzi. "It's nothing. I merely made an exchange with Fairy Chu Yu. It's only natural for me to act," Lin Xian indifferently said. Soon after, he glanced at Chu Yu and said, "Since I've already done it, I hope Fairy Chu you won't forget your promise." "Don't worry. I will definitely be able to let you enter the Danzong. However, it's hard to say what kind of identity you'll have. But with your strength, you should be able to quickly climb up," Chu Yu said. At that moment, Princess Kai Dai asked, "Why does Lin Gongzi want to join the Danzong? Why not join my great Xian Empire? The color disc will definitely treat young master with the highest courtesy." In truth, the great Xian Empire and the Danzong were equal in strength. This was why she was so confident in keeping Lin Xian. Many thanks for Princess's good intentions, but I've already decided to join the Danzong." Lin Xian shook his head and refused. In truth, if it weren't for the Niwa of Gojoseon's wish, Lin Xian wouldn't join the Danzong either. He would find a sacred land to join. Thus, he wouldn't join the great Xian Empire even more. Seeing Lin Xian's decisive refusal, Princess Kai Dai was disappointed. However, after a while she said, "Men, bring the gift I've prepared." Soon, a cultivator in black armor walked over with a wooden box. The wooden box was a foot tall and had exquisite carvings on it. It was obvious at a glance that it was made of high-quality wood. "What is this?" Everyone was puzzled. Even Lin Xian was curious. Princess Kai Dai smiled and said, "Open it." As she said this, her eyes flickered. It was obvious that she was very confident in her gift. The cultivator in black armor heard the order and immediately opened the square box. Inside was a Buddha statue. The statue was very lifelike. However, there were 3 sword slashes on the statue. "This is—" Everyone was shocked. Lin Xian also narrowed his eyes. He wasn't unfamiliar with this kind of gift. He had seen it before in the Tianwu continent. However, the sword marks at that time paled in comparison to the ones now. The sword marks on the Buddha statue must have been left by a peerless swordsman. That was because the remnant aura made his heart palpitate. Moreover, not only was the aura sharp, the sword marks seemed to contain a very mysterious energy. At this time, Princess Kai Dai said, "I paid a great price to collect this Buddha statue. The 3 sword marks on it are very mysterious and ever-changing. If you can understand it, it will definitely be a great fortune for a swordsman. I was reluctant to take it out before. Today I'll give it to Lin Gongzi." Hearing this, the surrounding cultivators sucked in a breath of cold air. Their eyes were full of envy. They weren't weak. Naturally, they could feel the mysterious power contained in the sword marks. It could be said that this was a priceless treasure. However, they could only be envious. There was no other way, because they couldn't get such a treasure. Perhaps if it were someone else, they wouldn't be able to get it either. Perhaps only Lin Xian could make Princess Kai Dai give such a treasure. As for Lin Xian, he took a deep breath. The reason for that was because those 3 sword scars were extremely useful to him. So in the next moment, he quickly nodded. "In that case, I won't be polite. However, I still won't stay here. But I can help you one more time. No matter what, no matter who the enemy is, I can help you once. But there's only one chance. I hope you'll take it seriously. Really?" Hearing this, Princess Kai Dai was excited. "Then thank you very much, Lin Gongzi." To be honest, she was originally very disappointed, because even after giving away the Buddha statue, she didn't keep Lin Xian. However, when she heard Lin Xian's words, she suddenly smiled. Chapter 1549. No matter when or what kind of enemy she faced, Lin Xian would help her at least once. This was definitely a very precious condition. One had to know that Lin Xian was already very powerful now, and from the looks of it, he was only in his 20s. His future achievements could be said to be limitless, with such a person agreeing to help her. Even if she encountered a huge problem in the future, it would probably be solved. Kai Dai thanked Lin Gongzi here. "You're welcome." Lin Xian nodded, then put away the Buddha statue. Then he turned to look at Chuyu. Chuyu naturally knew what he meant, so she said, "I might stay here for a few more days." "If you don't have anything else to do, stay here for a few more days. When things here are over, I'll take you to Danzong." "All right, in that case I won't disturb you." Lin Xian stood up. "Xiao Shui, take Lin Gongzi to the courtyard to rest." The beautiful little maid from before once again took Lin Xian away. In the next few days, Lin Xian stayed in the Yanba mountain villa. However, he did not participate in any banquets. Instead, he went into seclusion and began to comprehend the 3 sword scars on the Buddha statue. The three sword scars were indeed incomparably profound and contained supreme sword Tao. Even Lin Xian could not fully comprehend them in a short period of time. However, every time he comprehended, his understanding of the sword Tao deepened by a lot. Combined with his previous battle experience, this time he created three sword moves based on the three sword scars. The first move, Azure Dragon Break. This was a very powerful move. The second move, Underworld Waning Moon Break. This move not only incorporated the power of the sword scars, but also the characteristics of Death's Door. To be more precise, it was Death's Door that inspired him to use this move. This was because he had been absorbed by Death's Door and entered a very special space. If he did not have the great dragon sword soul and powerful combat strength, he would not have been able to return at all. Therefore, he had a lot of understanding of this move. Therefore, the second move was to directly use powerful sword chi to shatter the starry sky and send the enemy into an unknown space to be exiled. The third move, Mirror Still Water. This was a defensive sword technique that could increase the defense of the dragon's sword domain. These three moves were created by Lin Xian by combining his own strength and the comprehension of the three sword scars. They were very suitable. Its power was also extraordinary, and it was definitely not inferior to an Earth-tier martial skill. When he created these three moves, the banquet in the Yamba Mountain Villa also ended. Because 5 days had passed, the banquet in Chang and would eventually come to an end. And on this day, Chu Yu finally came to find him. Let's go. All right. Lin Xian did not hesitate in the slightest and directly left Misty Wave Mountain Villa with Chu Yu. Sky Martial Continent War God Palace. At this moment, the Lin family had already integrated into the Palace of Gods of War and started their new lives. As for the Palace of Gods of Ares, other than operating normally, it would also pay attention to the situation in Wanling Valley because that was where Lin Zhan was in seclusion. And on this day, Wanling Valley suddenly shone brightly like a rainbow shining in the sky. This scene directly alarmed everyone in the War God Palace. Countless elders rushed over and were very shocked. Could it be that the palace master had come out of seclusion? As expected, Wanling Valley slowly opened, and a crack appeared on the defensive array outside. Then, 2 figures walked out from inside. The person in front was a middle-aged man. He walked with majestic steps, and his gaze was dignified with a righteous aura. He was Lin Zhan, and beside him was a dignified and beautiful middle-aged woman. She was Lin Zhan's wife and also Lin Xian's mother. Their appearance caused a commotion in the War God Palace. Not only that, but old Master Lin and the others also rushed over excitedly. Soon the group was reunited. However, Lin Zhan would not stay for long this time. He quickly arranged a few backup plans and was about to leave the Sky Martial Continent. 2 of the most important things were that he had raised old Master Lin and second Uncle Lin's cultivation. It allowed them to directly enter the half-step king realm. Moreover, he had left behind a large amount of natural treasures to ensure that they could become true kings. Other than that, he had also left behind a clone. He had spent a lot of effort to cultivate this clone. Thus, it was a lot stronger than the previous clone he had. Its strength was about the same as the heavenly netherbird from before. With this clone's protection, no one would be able to touch the Lin family. After doing all this, Lin Zhan brought his wife and left the Sky Martial Continent. With a wave of his hand, a jet-black spirit boat appeared. Then, the 2 of them boarded the spirit boat and turned into a black bolt of lightning as they charged into the endless sea. Danzong, a sect that focused on alchemists. Its status could be said to be one of the top after the clan of the ancients and the peerless sacred grounds. Its location was not in the Great Xian Empire, but it was not far away. Of course, it was not far away in comparison. Even for kings like Lin Xian and Chu Yu, they still flew for a total of 7 days. Along the way, Lin Xian looked around at the scenery of the mountains and was shocked. As expected of the eastern wilderness, a true great world. The mountains and rivers here were extremely magnificent. The mountains were majestic and connected to the cities, as if countless dragons were lying down. The river surged, and the river water surged, producing thunderous sounds. The spirit chi here was even denser than in the sky martial continent. Of course, not only was the spirit chi abundant, but there were also many dangers. During this period, Lin Xian had seen more than one king demonic beast appear. There was even one time that he felt a great pressure. It was an unknown demonic beast. It was extremely huge, and when it spread its wings, it covered the sky like a dark cloud. It had a terrifying and overflowing aura. Fortunately, Lin Xian and Chu Yu were not ordinary people. The two of them concealed their auras and hid in the cave below. Only then did they manage to escape. According to Chu Yu, this was an extremely terrifying king demonic beast. If one encountered it head-on, there was no chance of survival. Of course, this was not the strongest king demonic beast. It was said that some of the peerless king demonic beasts were extremely terrifying and could destroy a country with a raise of their hand. That was terrifying. Of course, that kind of terrifying existence usually did not come out. Moreover, on the side of the human race, there were various sacred grounds and ancient families. They would not allow that kind of demonic beast to harm the human world. 7 days later, Chu Yu and Lin Xian arrived near a mountain range. If we continue forward, we will be in the Dawn Zone. Chu Yu looked at the majestic mountain range ahead and said with a smile, "Wait in the city at the foot of the mountain. I will go back and arrange for you to enter the sect. But let me say this first. With my strength, I can only let you enter as an ordinary disciple. Any higher and I will not be able to. Ordinary disciple." Lin Xian's eyes flashed. That was enough. Chapter 1550. An Ordinary Disciple. Lin Xian's eyes flashed. That's enough. As long as he could enter the Dawn Zone, Lin Xian would be satisfied. After all, he had come with a mission. He didn't know much about the Niwa of Gojoseon, and he also didn't know much about the 10,000 beast sting. That was because the 10,000 beast sting had only been obtained after the Niwa of Gojoseon left the Dawn Zone. So, what exactly had happened to the Niwa of Gojoseon in the Dawn Zone? Why had he been killed in the Tianwu continent? Lin Xian had to find out all of this himself. Then, Chu Yu's figure flashed and flew directly to the Dawn Zone. He first went to a city near the center of Dawn Zone to wait. Lin Xian turned into a ray of sword light and flew quickly. However, he was extremely shocked. Near the Dawn Zone, there were hundreds of cities densely packed together. It was like a small country, and this was only the periphery of the Dawn Zone. In the depths of the mountain range, there were even more palaces and waterfalls. It was a celestial scene. Lin Xian withdrew his aura and quickly landed in a nearby city. He found an inn to rest. The next day, he received a letter from Chu Yu. The matter had been settled. Chu Yu gave him 2 choices. The first was to join the Dawn Zone as a martial artist and be responsible for the sect's security. This was a good starting position, but it wouldn't be too high in the end. The second choice was to join the sect as an alchemist. However, this choice required Lin Xian to pass some tests. He could only join the sect after he passed the tests. Lin Xian didn't hesitate and directly chose the second choice. After all, he also wanted to see what was so special about the Dawn Zone's alchemy techniques. He was also an alchemist, and he had never stopped practicing alchemy. At this moment, his alchemy skills had already reached the Grandmaster realm, and he was able to refine Xian pills that surpassed the 9th grade. Only such profound pills were useful to King Realm cultivators, whereas the medicinal pills below the profound pill, even if it was a 9th grade medicinal pill, were extremely useless to King Realm cultivators. In addition to the letter, there was also a token that Lin Xian used to enter Dawn Zone. With the token in hand, Lin Xian left the inn. Danzong was incomparably bright. The mountain range stretched as far as the eye could see. This was a colossus. It was a very powerful existence below the clan of the ancients and the peerless Holy Lands. Ordinary people would not dare to come here and behave atrociously. Of course, for those alchemists who wanted to join the Danzong, there was a special testing place. It was a valley at the foot of the mountain where dozens of palaces had been built. That place was used to test alchemists. When Danzong recruited disciples, they didn't look at one's current strength, but talent. The level of talent determined how far one could go in the future, and that was what Danzong valued the most. Of course, one had to have a certain foundation. Moreover, those who could come to Danzong to participate in the test were not ordinary people. However, no matter how extraordinary they did not dare to act presumptuously in front of Danzong. At this moment, many people had gathered in the valley, and they were all waiting silently. Among these people, there were children of 7 or 8 years old, teenagers of 15 or 16 years old, and even youths in their 20s. There were even some elderly people among them. In any case, there were people of all ages. They all had a sincere heart and wanted to join Danzong. Lin Xian also arrived in front of the valley, but he did not stop. Instead, he walked straight in. This scene immediately attracted the attention of the surrounding cultivators, and many people even started to whisper, "Who is this guy? He doesn't know the rules and dares to walk in directly? Yeah, he looks like a hothead. He'll definitely be killed if he goes in like this. Hee, that's good too. With one less competitor, my chances of entering the Pill Ancestor sect will be slightly higher." Saya, every year, there are some hotheads who don't care about Danzong's rules and barge indirectly. I remember that a young man was here a while ago, and he even wanted to use force to barge in. In the end, he was sent flying with a punch. The crowd discussed animatedly as they looked at Lin Xian, their eyes filled with schadenfreude. At this moment, a cold voice came from the valley. "Stop! Who are you? How dare you be so rude? Danzong is not a place where you can enter as you wish. If you want to enter Danzong, not only do you have to have talent, you also have to have an opportunity. Kneel outside and wait. When your opportunity arrives, someone will let you in." Along with the voice came a figure. It was a young man in a robe. His eyes were filled with arrogance, as if he did not care about anyone. It could not be helped. These Danzong disciples had the right to be arrogant. That was because Danzong was a colossus in this place. It was an absolutely transcendent existence. In fact, many of the surrounding countries had to submit to Danzong. Behind the young man in the robe, there were countless figures flashing. Clearly, they were also Danzong disciples. If anyone dared to make a move, they would not hesitate to kill them. Lin Xian stopped in his tracks and narrowed his eyes. He took out the token and said slowly, "I'm here to take the test." The token was simple and unadorned. The word Dan was engraved on it. There was a red glow on its surface, and a fiery aura could be felt. This was Danzong's token. Outsiders could not forge it. The young man in the robe trembled when he saw the token. The arrogance on his face disappeared and was replaced by a solemn expression. He carefully took the token and said, "Wait here. I'll go and inform them." With that, the young man in the robe entered the valley again. As for the surrounding people, they began to whisper to each other. Some of them were even filled with shock. "What's going on? He wasn't killed?" "That's right. This isn't Danzong's style. Could it be? What other background does this kid have?" The group of people discussed animatedly. They were very puzzled. However, not long after, the young man in the robe came out again. "You must be Lin Xian. Follow me. You are qualified to join Danzong, but we still have to test your aptitude." Hearing that, Lin Xian nodded. Chu Yu had already explained this to him. Therefore, he took a step forward and followed the young man in the robe. What? He went in. He actually went in. The people behind him widened their eyes when they saw the scene. They originally thought that Lin Xian would be killed, but they did not expect him to be invited in. This was indeed beyond their expectations. Heavens, who exactly is this kid? How could he enter Danzong so easily? Look at the token he took out earlier. It should be Danzong's token. This kid's background is definitely not simple. Everyone was extremely envious. Chapter 1551. The valley wasn't large, but it was surrounded by palaces. Furthermore, there were quite a few spirit medicines growing inside. Many of them didn't exist in the Tianmu continent. However, Lin Xian recognized them. This was because he had the inheritance of Lord Alcohol and Niwa of Gojoseon. Thus, he had a very precise grasp of the knowledge of these herbs. There was basically no herb that he didn't recognize. Soon he entered a palace. This palace had a total of 6 floors. Each floor was filled with books. Lin Xian glanced at them and found that most of them were books on alchemy. There were recipes, identification of herbs, and medicinal effects. There were also flames, pill furnaces, and so on. In short, everything related to alchemy was here. It could be said that there was a wealth of knowledge. Finally, Lin Xian followed the pill-robed youth to the 5th floor. There was a middle-aged man sitting there. At this moment, he was holding an ancient book in his hand and carefully reading it. The book was slightly yellowed, and the pages were somewhat curly. It was obvious that it had been flipped through countless times. However, at this moment, the middle-aged man was holding it in his hand as if it were a treasure. Lin Xian looked ahead and was slightly surprised. This was because the flame aura on this person's body was very strong. It even surpassed the blue sky flames and the mysterious flame in Han Li's hand. There was no need to think about it. The other party should have grasped an extremely terrifying flame. In addition, he also felt an extremely powerful soul power from the other party. Even he was shocked by the soul force. The other party was definitely an alchemist, and a very terrifying one at that. He didn't expect to meet such a person as soon as he arrived in Danzong. "Martial uncle, I've brought him," the pale-robed youth said respectfully. "Yes, I know," the middle-aged man in front of him said indifferently. However, he didn't immediately raise his head and continued to read the ancient book in his hand. The pale-robed youth respectfully left, leaving only Lin Xian behind. After a while, the middle-aged man raised his head and closed the ancient book in his hand. With a wave of his hand, the ancient book floated to the side of the bookshelf. Then he picked up the command medallion on the table and asked with a flickering gaze, "You are Lin Xian?" "Yes." Lin Xian nodded. At this moment, he had already retracted his aura, making him look like an ordinary person. However, there was a very calm expression on his face. "Not bad. To be able to resist my pressure, it seems that your strength is definitely not ordinary. I heard about your situation from Chuyu. To be able to defeat Han Li, his battle prowess is truly astonishing. However, I'm very curious. If you were to enter the other sects, you would probably be treated very well. But why did you enter Danzong?" At the end of his speech, his gaze became sharp, like 2 sharp swords that wanted to see through Lin Xian. But Lin Xian was still as calm as ever. The great dragon sword soul within his body quickly revolved, offsetting this pressure. Other than being a martial artist, I'm also an alchemist. Naturally, I want to join Danzong and learn more advanced alchemy techniques. An alchemist? The middle-aged man narrowed his eyes. To be honest, he couldn't believe that the other party was actually an alchemist. "Prove it?" Lin Xian nodded slightly. Then his soul power surged out. The middle-aged man was immediately shocked. He didn't expect that the other party's soul power would be so strong. "Not bad. Normal people don't have such a strong soul. Kid, it seems that your talent is quite good." The middle-aged man nodded slightly and waved his hand. Suddenly, the wall in front of him flickered and quickly opened. revealing a painting. There were two yin-yang fishes, one white and one black. They blended together and were extremely profound. Take a closer look. How many changes can you see? As the middle-aged man's voice faded, the yin-yang diagram on the painting began to quickly spin. The black and white diagrams seemed to become black and white fishes that quickly swam away. 72. Lin Xian glanced at it and quickly said, "What about now?" The middle-aged man asked again. The yin-yang fishes in front of him were moving faster and faster. 360 types, 1,800, 7,200, 12,000 types. When Lin Xian said this number, the middle-aged man was stunned. He didn't expect the young man in front of him to be able to see so many changes. The yin-yang diagram in front of him was a treasure of the Danzong. It was very special. Although it didn't have much attacking power, it could be used to test a martial artist's soul power. The yin-yang fishes had thousands of changes. A martial artist could only capture the changes through their soul power. The stronger the soul power, the more changes one could capture. Generally speaking, seeing 3,600 changes was enough to enter the Danzong. With more than 5,000 changes, one would be considered a decent genius. Even better ones would see 7,000 to 8,000 changes. As for those with more than 10,000 changes, they would be considered a genius. This kind of person had extremely high soul power. It was impossible for normal martial artists to cultivate it, unless the other party had a cultivation technique that specialized in soul power or consumed some heavenly treasure. It was even rarer to be able to see 12,000 changes as soon as one entered the sect. It could be said that there were very few people. Therefore, Lin Xian's soul power really shocked him. Your soul power isn't bad. What about your knowledge of spiritual herbs? The middle-aged man flicked his finger and 3 drops of liquid floated in the air. Can you tell what kind of spirit herbs these are made from? There are 42 types. There are purple spiral flowers, extreme spiritual herbs, Lin Xian said one by one with a calm expression. This made the middle-aged man even more shocked. His spiritual liquid was made with dozens of spiritual herbs. Normal people wouldn't be able to tell the difference. But this young man in front of him was able to recite them as if they were his family's treasures. It seemed that he was indeed an alchemist. Very good, you pass. The middle-aged man was very satisfied. With your talent and current strength, you can ignore the outer sect disciples and directly become an inner sect disciple. Thank you, Senior. Lin Xian breathed a sigh of relief. Okay, you can now go to the inner sect to report. The middle-aged man flipped his hand and took out a new token. He handed it to Lin Xian. This is your identity token. Engrave your soul power on it. Don't lose it. After saying this, the middle-aged man sat down again. With a wave of his hand, the books on the bookshelf in the distance seemed to be carried by a pair of invisible hands and floated over again. The middle-aged man ignored Lin Xian and continued to read the ancient books. As for Lin Xian, he took the new inner sect disciple token and left the hall. When he went out, he found that the red-robed young man from before was still waiting outside. Oh, how do I get to that door? Lin Xian asked. Inner sect. The red-robed young man heard this and suddenly raised his head. His eyes were full of shock. You entered the inner sect. Lin Xian nodded and took out the token. Suddenly, the red-robed young man sucked in a breath of cold air and looked at Lin Xian as if he was looking at a monster. Chapter 1552. What's wrong? Is there something wrong? Lin Xian asked curiously. Senior brother, you're new here. You don't know what being an inner sect disciple means, the young man explained quickly. His attitude changed quickly, and he even addressed Lin Xian as senior brother. The disciples of the Danzong are divided into outer sect disciples, inner sect disciples and core disciples. There are also personal disciples. However, there are very few personal disciples. There are only a few of them. Furthermore, the headmaster and the various elders no longer accept personal disciples. Therefore, personal disciples can be seen as special core disciples. From the outer sect to the inner sect, there is a threshold. Most of the outer sect disciples are free range, and they do some chores. They can be said to be the lowest level of the sect. But it's different for inner sect disciples. They are already considered elites. They enjoy a lot of resources and have the opportunity to listen to the teachings of the elders. It can be said that their treatment has improved a lot. However, it's very difficult to become an inner sect disciple. Every year, only a small number of outstanding outer sect disciples can become inner sect disciples. The competition is very fierce. Some people have been in the outer sect for more than 10 years, but they still haven't become inner sect disciples. Hearing this, Lin Xian nodded. He finally understood why this young man in front of him had such an attitude. He became an inner sect disciple the moment he entered. This starting point was far beyond everyone's imagination. Lin Xian nodded slightly, then asked, "Then what's the deal with core disciples? Tell me more about it." Core disciples are the elites of the elites. It's even more difficult to become a core disciple from an inner sect disciple. Some people have been in the inner sect for more than 100 years, but they still can't become a core disciple. Core disciples have a lot of power. They even have the right to kill. There are even some very powerful core disciples who are not weaker than some elders. It's just that they haven't made any great contributions to the sect, so they can't be made elders. However, their strength is very terrifying. I see. Lin Xian nodded, indicating that he understood. It seemed that the identity of an inner sect disciple was not guaranteed. He had to get the identity of a core disciple as soon as possible so that he could better interact with the Danzong. After all, the Niwi of Gojoseon was something that happened hundreds of years ago. Ordinary disciples would never be able to come into contact with this kind of secret. Only those in the upper echelons would be able to obtain clues. The young man in the red robes led Lin Xian to the inner sect area but didn't enter. He said to Lin Xian, "Senior brother, I'm just an outer sect disciple. I can't enter the inner sect. You'll have to rely on yourself from now on." Okay. Lin Xian nodded and entered the inner sect alone. However, Lin Xian did not fumble around on his own. After entering the inner sect, there were specialized people to guide him. Very quickly, he was assigned to an independent courtyard. Every inner disciple could enjoy a mobile independent courtyard as their own residence. From the conversation, Lin Xian also learned that the treatment of core disciples was even better. They could even occupy a mountain peak and use it as their own residence. Some powerful core disciples could even enslave outer sect disciples and order inner sect disciples to do things for them. It could be said that he had a lot of power. Lin Xian chose a courtyard and stayed there. He did not act immediately. Instead, he cultivated silently to accumulate his strength. Just like that, he stayed in the inner sect. On the other hand, outside Danzong, there was a test going on for the past few days. Countless outer sect disciples were trying their best to enter the inner sect. Among them, there was a beautiful young girl who also wanted to take the test. The young girl was beautiful, but her expression was a little arrogant. She raised her chin like a proud little princess. At that moment, there were many young men around her. "There are 10 spots to enter the inner sect this time. I'll definitely get one," the young girl said proudly. Of course, the surrounding warriors quickly flattered her. Beside her, there were a few arrogant disciples. They were also elites of the outer sect and were very confident of entering the inner sect. Among them, there was a young man in a red robe. He looked at the young girl and smiled. "That's for sure. Sister Ting will enter together. However, after entering the inner sect, you'll have to rely on your brother. When the time comes, Don't forget about me." Hearing the compliment around her, the young girl called Fong Ting became even more proud. "Of course. Don't worry, my brother is very powerful in the inner sect. After we enter, I'll ask him to take care of you." When the surrounding disciples heard that, they were envious. They knew that Fong Ting was very powerful. At such a young age, she had become a top outer sect disciple and was about to enter the inner sect. Not only that, she had an even more powerful brother who was in the inner sect. It could be said that no one dared to bully her. She would probably be a proud daughter of the heavens if she entered the inner sect. Everyone was discussing animatedly. However, at that moment, the results of the test were released. Immediately, everyone craned their necks and looked nervously. The young girl, called Fong Ting, also became nervous. To be honest, although she was quite talented, there were many people in the outer sect who were more talented and stronger than her. Therefore, she was not completely confident. However, when she saw that her name was ranked 10th, her delicate little face immediately revealed a smug smile. 10th. Although it was a little worse than she had imagined, she was still very satisfied. That was because she knew that there were only 10 spots to enter the inner sect this time. In other words, as long as she entered the top 10, she would definitely be able to enter the inner sect. Ha 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 ha. That's great. I've finally entered the inner sect. One after another, exclamations of surprise sounded. Obviously, these were the top 10 disciples. Soon, the outer sect elder walked over quickly with a scroll in his hand. As for Fong Ting and the other top 10 disciples, they all had smug smiles on their faces as they quickly walked out and stood in front. They knew that it was time to announce the results. Sure enough, the outer sect elder slowly said, "Next, I will announce your candidates to enter the inner sect. Huang Kai Xiaodong, Qin Feng." The outer sect elder read out 9 names in a row. They were all disciples ranked in the top 9. Fong Ting listened with a smug expression. However, when it was her turn, she suddenly stopped. The outer sect elder slowly put away the scroll and said in a deep voice, "From today onwards, the 9 of you will be inner sect disciples. After entering the inner sect, you must cultivate well. You must not slack off. Yes, disciple obeys." Qin Feng and the other 9 disciples nodded respectfully. The surrounding crowd was in an uproar. What was going on? There were only 9 people. Why were there only 9? Fong Ting quickly said, "Elder, why didn't you read my name?" Chapter 1553. What's going on? There are only 9 people. Why are there only 9? Everyone was puzzled and puzzled. Fong Ting quickly said, "Elder, why didn't you read my name?" After the outer sect elder heard that, he said in a deep voice, "There are only 9 spots to enter the inner sect this time, so only the top 9 will be chosen." 9. How is that possible? Fong Ting looked anxious. Didn't we say that there were a total of 10 spots? Why is there 1 less? That's right, Elder. Haven't the spots been decided before? Qin Feng, who had become an inner sect disciple, was also puzzled. There were indeed 10 spots before, but a few days ago, a disciple came to join Danzong and became an inner sect disciple directly. So naturally, there will be 1 less spot for you. What? Someone became an inner sect disciple directly? Hearing this, everyone was shocked. One had to know that they knew the rules of Danzong. Usually, those who came were outer sect disciples. It was rare to hear someone become an inner sect disciple directly. Impossible. Damn it, how is that possible? Fong Ting screamed. She was originally full of confidence and thought that she would definitely be able to enter the inner sect this time. However, she did not expect that something like this would happen. This is against the rules. I'm in the top 10, so I should enter the inner sect, Fong Ting said quickly. However, the outer sect elder snorted coldly, "Noisy! Is this a place for you to behave atrociously? This is the sect's decision. What are you unhappy about? At the end of his sentence, his voice was extremely cold and even emitted a powerful aura. No, no. Feeling this aura, Fong Ting was scared silly and quickly knelt on the ground. Seeing this, the outer sect elder said in a deep voice, "With your talent, you will definitely be able to enter the inner sect next time after cultivating for a period of time. This time you can go back first." After saying that, he waved his hand and took Qin Feng and the other 9 inner sect disciples away. Only the shocked crowd was left. Damn it, this is too despicable. I have to find out who replaced me. I'm going to tear him into pieces. Fong Ting knelt on the ground and screamed crazily. The surrounding martial artists felt their scalps go numb. That was because they knew that the disciple who became an inner disciple was going to be in trouble. Fong Ting's brother was an extremely terrifying figure in the inner sect. With him around, he could kill anyone. For the past few days, Lin Xian had been cultivating in his room, but he would come out from time to time. In the vicinity of his courtyard, there were many spiritual herbs that he needed to take care of. He would hand over 70% of these spiritual herbs to the sect, and the remaining 30% would be his reward. This was an inner disciple. If he wanted to be promoted to a core disciple, he would only need to pay half of it. In the past few days, while Lin Xian was taking care of the spirit herbs, he also got to know some of the surrounding inner sect disciples. They were familiar with each other. One day, while Lin Xian was cultivating, someone suddenly knocked on his door. Lin Xian immediately opened his eyes. He stood up and opened the door. The person who knocked on the door was his neighbor. He was also an inner disciple, and his name was Zhou Hai. In addition to Zhou Hai, there were 2 or 3 other figures, all of whom were inner disciples nearby. "What's the matter?" Lin Xian asked. Usually, no one would disturb him during the day. Now that the other party was here, it meant that something had happened. "There's a mission for us." "Mission?" Hearing that, Lin Xian frowned. He naturally knew that to become a disciple of the Danzong, he had to complete some sect missions. However, he did not expect that the mission would come so soon. "Yes, it's like this. The cities near us have been losing spirit herbs recently. Sometimes there are even obvious riots. It's obvious that it's man-made. According to various investigations, we finally found out that it's the people from the 10,000 Poison Sect. Now, the sect has issued a mission to kill the people from the 10,000 Poison Sect. Many inner sect disciples have already taken action because the reward this time is too good. Every time you kill a martial artist from the 10,000 Poison Sect, you can get 1 sect contribution. 10 sect contribution points can be exchanged for a high-grade alchemy book or a top-grade spiritual herb. Those spirit herbs are not the ones we planted. They are all extremely precious. Every one of them is worth a lot. It seems that the sect is really angry this time. Yes, especially those high-level alchemy books. Even the core disciples are tempted. I think many of them will go now. We want to go too, so we came to call you." "How about it? Do you want to go together?" Zhou Hai and the others asked. "Okay, let's go take a look." Lin Xian nodded. He had nothing to do anyway. He could also get some spirit herbs and alchemy books by killing some of the people from the 10,000 Poison Sect. He was happy. All of Lin Xian's belongings were on him, so there was nothing much to pack. He left with Zhou Hai and the others and flew to the city at the foot of the mountain. At the same time, Fong Ting was also contacting her brother in the inner sect through letters. Fong Li, Fong Ting's brother, was also an inner sect disciple. Moreover, he was a very powerful inner sect disciple. It could be said that everyone in the inner sect knew of Fong Li. When he found out that his sister's spot had been taken and she could not enter the inner sect, his face immediately darkened. "Investigate. Who took my sister's spot?" Fong Li said coldly to a few of his underlings beside him. "Don't worry, young Master Fong. We'll investigate now." These followers were also inner sect disciples. They quickly went out to investigate. Soon they returned. We found some information. That kid is called Lin Xian. He came 5 days ago. He did become an inner sect disciple directly, but we can't find out the reason. How strong is that kid? Fong Li asked in a deep voice. I don't know about his alchemy skills, but according to those who have seen him, he's only a one-star king. One-star king. Hearing this, Fong Li's frown deepened. The people around him sneered. How can he become an inner sect disciple directly with such a weak cultivation? Could that kid be an alchemy genius? Impossible. If he's really an alchemy genius, we should have known the moment he came in. But now he's keeping a low profile. I'm afraid there's something fishy going on. Fong Li snorted. No matter who he is or how he came in, he must pay the price for taking my sister's spot. Let's go. Let's see what that Lin Xian is capable of. Fong Li snorted, then ran toward Lin Xian's courtyard. Along with him were a few other inner disciples from before. Chapter 1554. Along the way, many inner sect disciples saw this, and their expressions changed. Isn't that Fong Li? Why does he look so pale? Where are they going? They don't look friendly. Oh my God! Someone dares to provoke Fong Li? Isn't he afraid of death? I heard that someone took Fong Li's sister's place in the inner sect. I think Fong Li is going to find trouble with the other party. What? Is there such a thing? I think so. There is indeed a new disciple in the inner sect. I think his name is Lin Xian. Look at them. They are indeed going to Lin Xian's courtyard. The surrounding inner sect disciples are whispering. When they saw this, they followed them. Fong Li and his group stopped in front of Lin Xian's courtyard. This is the place. Fong Li looked ahead with a cold gaze. Yes, young Master Fong, this is the place. Wait, I'll get that kid to come out. One of the inner sect disciples said. Then he took a step forward and shouted coldly, Lin, get out here! His voice was like thunder. It turned into a sharp sword and quickly spread inside. However, it was quiet inside. There was no response at all, let alone a person. Humph! How dare you put on airs in front of me? Seeing that there was no response, the inner sect disciple was very unhappy. He snorted coldly and waved his sleeve. Suddenly, a powerful force pushed forward. With a boom, the door and wall in front of him exploded. Seeing this, everyone was shocked. Is he going to do it himself? However, after waiting for a while, no one came out. Soon, a few inner sect disciples entered the courtyard at lightning speed and checked it out. Then they came out and said, Young Master Fong, there is no one inside. No one. Hearing this, Fong Li frowned and asked coldly, Do any of you know where that kid went? Whoever provides me with the clue, I'll give him a top-notch spiritual herb. Immediately, someone ran out and said, That kid with the surname Lin went to take a mission. The one from the 10,000 Poison Sect. A mission from the 10,000 Poison Sect? Hearing this, Fong Li narrowed his eyes and a cold smile appeared on his face. Then, with a flip of his palm, he took out a stalk of spirit grass and threw it to the man. How dare you take my younger sister's spot? No matter where you run, you won't be able to escape death. It just so happens that I'm also going to accept the mission from the 10,000 Poison Sect. I'll take care of that brat while I'm at it. Fong Li sneered and left with his men. Upon seeing this, the surrounding inner disciples shook their heads and sighed. Sigh, that Lin Xian is too unlucky. He actually offended Fong Li. That's right. With Fong Li's strength and methods, that kid definitely won't be able to gain any advantage. That's not all. If they meet him outside this time, that kid might lose his life. When the time comes, Fong Li will kill that kid and push the blame to the 10,000 Poison Sect. Even if the sect finds out anything, they won't care. Forget it. This matter has nothing to do with us. Let's not bother about it. The group of people left one after another. At the foot of the mountain, cities surrounded the mountain like stars. Although only a few days had passed, Lin Xian discovered that the appearance of this place had changed. Among them, many cities had been attacked. The city walls had collapsed, the houses were damaged, and deep holes had appeared on the ground. Not only that, but there was also a green mist in the surroundings that contained a deadly poison. Even kings had to be careful when dealing with it. According to Zhou Tian's introduction, this was a unique technique of the 10,000 Poison sect. This green mist was extremely terrifying. It was condensed from many king-level demonic beasts. It could be said that it was extremely powerful. Anyone below the king level would definitely die if they touched it. As for king-level cultivators, if they accidentally inhaled it, they would lose a lot of their strength and might even be heavily injured. Therefore, they had to be careful when fighting against the 10,000 Poison sect. Damn, these people from the 10,000 Poison sect are really despicable. Yeah, just this poisonous mist alone has consumed a lot of my spiritual energy. If we weren't kings, we probably wouldn't have been able to stay in this poisonous mist for too long. An inner disciple's face was gloomy. Obviously, the poisonous mist in the surroundings was a huge burden on him. These people were Lin Xian and the others. They had appeared in the city. Among them, Zhou Hai looked at Lin Xian's calm expression and asked in confusion, "Brother Lin, could it be that you're not affected at all? Heavens, your spiritual energy is too strong, isn't it?" Indeed, there were countless sword qi revolving around Lin Xian's body. Every sword qi was extremely sharp, and the poisonous mist couldn't get close to him at all. Zhou Hai and the others also used their own methods, but their expressions weren't as calm as Lin Xian's. Among them, Zhou Hai and another disciple called Yang Song were the strongest. Both of them were 2-star kings. The remaining 2 were late-stage 1-star kings. The 4 of them walked carefully, while Lin Xian checked the surroundings. "By the way, Brother Lin, are you a swordsman? This sword qi is too sharp, isn't it?" While the others were still envious, Lin Xian frowned and said in a deep voice, "I seem to have found something strange." "Strange? What is it?" Zhou Hai and the others were puzzled. They were also alchemists, and their soul power was very strong. However, they didn't find anything strange at all. However, looking at Lin Xian's expression, it didn't seem like he was faking it. Therefore, they were very puzzled. "Let's go, follow me." With a wave of his hand, Lin Xian dashed forward. Although Zhou Hai and the others were puzzled, they still followed him. Soon, they left the city and entered the primeval forest. After flying for a while, Lin Xian's body swayed and flew down. Seeing this, Zhou Hai and the others also descended. Then they widened their eyes in disbelief, because there were countless corpses on the ground. However, most of the corpses had turned into white bones, and the remaining ones were rotting. Obviously, they were all poisoned to death. These are the warriors from those cities. It seems that they have fought with the 10,000 Poison sect. The others gasped. The distance was too far. Ordinary people couldn't sense it at all. Even they couldn't sense it. However, Lin Xian seemed to have known it all along. Just how strong was his soul force? Lin Xian looked at the scene and frowned. What a strong poison! Not only had the corpses rotted, but the entire ground had also turned into a land of death. There was no trace of life. Furthermore, the poisonous gas would spread out and gradually fuse into the void to form a poisonous fog. It wouldn't be long before the whole place became a land of death. Not even a blade of grass would grow. Zhou Hai frowned. He summoned a white mouse from his king's domain and fed it a pill. Suddenly, the white mouse shone brightly. Its black little nose twitched as if it was looking for something. Then it ran forward like a bolt of lightning. You're tuning in to the Thunder Spear YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.